arrested and will have to face jail.
In fact, this is also being linked to the various raids that are underway in the country in different issues. We earlier also saw Rahul Gandhi put out a statement and Congress leaders alleging that this is, an action being taken against leaders who belong to opposition parties or those who speak against the BJP.
What is it about opposition leaders? Haven't we recovered more than 50 crore in ED raids from Patra Chatterjee, the TMC leader? Satendra Jain of the Aam Aadmi Party is in jail and has not got any relief from the court. Nawab Malik of the NCP, Anil Deshmukh of the NCP, both in jail. The courts have found merit in allegations against them. If the opposition thinks that the agencies are being used against them, why are they not able to get relief from the court? That is the question. And it is unfair to say that only opposition leaders are being targeted. If you do corruption, you will be targeted, you will be probed. The agencies will go after you. Sitting in opposition does not mean you have immunity from investigation.
All right. Amit Malviya, thank you very much for joining us. That was Amit Malviya. They're saying that if you indulge in corruption, action will be taken irrespective of the party that you belong to. Meanwhile, these are visuals coming in of the protest which is underway outside Herald House. We have Priyank and Akanksha both on the broadcast. Let's go across to Akanksha. Now, Akanksha, these protests are only intensifying. Workers have gathered. Earlier, we saw the Satyagraha protest when Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi were summoned for questioning. Now, when the raids are underway, Congress workers protesting outside the office.
Well, actually, during the questioning of Sonia Gandhi last week, we also saw the build-up of heat even in the parliament, and what we witnessed that time was the flash mob, the sit-in dharnas and also demonstration outside the AICC office and the parliament also. But what we're witnessing here today is another protest, even as the raids are currently underway at the Herald House in connection with the National Herald money laundering case. This protest started at 4 o'clock, and since then we've been seeing that police is trying to control this crowd, but they were caught unaware because these people did not take any permission from the police to carry out this protest here. However, police, as you can see in the frame, police is asking them to leave this road because they did not take any permission. However, they've been raising slogans of stop misuse of ED, तानाशाही नहीं चलेगी, ED को देखा है देखेंगे, and repeatedly saying Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi Zindabad. This comes few days after Sonia Gandhi was also questioned in connection with the case, and that time we also witnessed massive protests, not even in the national capital but all across the country, and we saw how protests were carried out. Now you can see that police is now pushing these Congress people, workers to leave the area outside the Herald House where raids are currently underway, and the ED officers had reached here early morning. These protesters had gathered here in huge number and very proudly told Times Now that they do not need any permission from the police because of the misuse that is misuse of the agency by the central government. But time and again, Congress has been saying that this is a political vendetta. The charges against Sonia Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi are baseless, and that these agencies are being misused against them.
Right. Let me go across to Priyank as well. Priyank, reactions coming in. Congress party says we are not against the investigation, but the manner in which the investigation is being carried out. And if they are not against the investigation, isn't this an attempt to disrupt the process? Priyank. Okay, we're trying to connect with Priyank. Let's go back to Akanksha. Akanksha, also speak to the workers who are staging this protest outside Herald House.
Well, absolutely. As you rightly mentioned, Congress is saying that they're not against the investigation against Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi, but its manner. They're also saying that this is targeted, and also question the timing of the raids and also these questionings. We just go across and speak to these people. Just a few moments ago, the police was trying to detain them.
देखो, जब कांग्रेस की सरकार थी, जब अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी बीमार हुए थे, तो कांग्रेस ने भेजा था उन्हें विदेश में इलाज के लिए, लेकिन आज ये हमारे 75 साली सोनिया गांधी को परेशान करते हैं, ईडी का दुरुपयोग करते हैं। ये भगत सिंह को ना देखा हो तो भगत सिंह हम खड़े, चंद्रशेखर आजाद यहाँ खड़े, बिल्कुल डरने वाले हैं, जेल जाने को तैयार है, बिल्कुल नहीं डरते। राहुल गांधी सोनिया गांधी जी के सिपाही हैं।
जाएगी तो जाएगी। देखिए, एक बात जानना चाहते हैं हम मोदी जी से, ईडी जो किसी भी कांग्रेस के लीडर को, अपने वरिष्ठ नेताओं को लेकर ईडी में संबंध भेज देते हैं, लेकिन मैं ये जानना चाहता हूं, जिसमें गैर भाजपाई सरकारें रही हैं, वहां पर सरकारें खरीद फरोख्त में 50-50 करोड़ रुपए दिया जाता है, सरकार गिराई जाती है, तो ईडी उस तरफ ध्यान क्यों नहीं जाता ईडी का?
ये जो बीजेपी के इतने बड़े बड़े लीडर हैं, उनके घर पर ईडी क्यों नहीं जाती? सिर्फ सोनिया गांधी जी और राहुल गांधी जी के पास ईडी जाती है, तो उनको डराया जाता है। उनको डराओ ना, जो आपके लीडर है।
ईडी भेज के कुछ नहीं है, ईडी भेज के ये सरकार कुछ नहीं करना चाह रही है, सिर्फ हमारे नेताओं का मनोबल तोड़ने की कोशिश कर रही है, और हम कांग्रेस कार्यकर्ता मनोबल टूटने नहीं देंगे।
You can see police is clearly saying detain karunga. They've been repeatedly asked to leave, but they're not leaving. They are gathered here in large numbers, and there are not sufficient police officers here to control this law and order situation that is arising out of this flash mob protest. As you can see, they are being pushed now by the police, asking them to leave from here. Although we saw that they tried to enter the Herald house also, where raids are currently underway, but this sort of situation has arisen here in the central Delhi. Now, I'll request my camera person to just show how police is taking them one by one, asking them to leave this road and disperse from here. But definitely, the
The police
situation here
officials
was
there trying to push back the crowd, but they continue to gather outside the Herald House, where the Enforcement Directorate raids are being conducted. Akanksha, stay on with us. Let me go across to Priyank now for more on this. Priyank, isn't this also a way of disrupting the entire process that is being followed by the Enforcement Directorate? If they are not against investigation, why aren't they actually allowing it to be carried out in a peaceful manner?
Yes, certainly, Swati. This has been happening since the time the senior leaders of Congress Party have been, summoned by the enforcement grade. These kind of intimidating tactics has been used by the Congress Party, either at the ED's headquarters in the national capital, where we saw that tires were burned and vehicles were also, stopped by these Congress Party workers, where they, moved towards the ED's office, and every attempt was failed. While talking about this Herald House, Swati, this only has one entrance, and we just saw that all these Congress Party workers, managed to go to the main entrance, and the security personnel had to block the main passage, knowing the fact that this office also has 2 floors where the passport office is situated, and there were people around who, just suddenly moved out. At this location, we would show you that a detention will be made, and by the Delhi police. Delhi police have been trying to stop these people time and again, but at the Bahadur Shah Zafar Road, which leads towards the IDO, the Congress Party workers have now blocked the vehicle passes. The buses have been stopped. All those people from the Congress are attempting to stop the traffic movement which is moving towards the ITO. The Delhi police managed to move them from the main entrance of the Herald House, but after they were being pushed away by the Delhi police, these party workers have come here. We from Times at Work asked very specific questions to the youth Congress leaders, that why you are not giving ample time to the agency to bring out the truth. If your leaders are, don't have any kind of, involvement in this investigation which is being done by the Enforcement Directorate, certainly the truth will come out. But much before that, these kind of intimidating tactics being used by the Congress Party time and again whenever the ED even talks about the investigation related to National Herald. We are watching these kind of tactics being used by the Congress Party workers. We are at this road which move towards the ITO, and you can see in the peak hour where the traffic is very traffic speed is very high. These Congress Party workers have started marching towards the ITO. That is clearly showing that the Congress is certainly not in a mood to let this issue go away from their hand. They know their leaders have been questioned and the leaders themselves have joined in the investigation. But whenever the ED makes any move to complete the investigation, because as we know that the Enforcement Directorate is yet to complete the investigation, they are yet to file a prosecution complaint related to the story. These kind of strategy being opted by the Congress party is certainly something which will be questioned again. All these party workers, very dramatic videos coming out from the national capital, these Congress party leaders and workers have spread on the main road which lead towards the income tax office roundabout. They have been stopping at several locations. They have been trying to sit on dharna where they are being stopped by the Delhi police forces. The traffic movement is certainly being obstructed by these Congress party workers. But when we ask them very specific question that why you're not letting the agency complete the investigation, certainly they're talking about the agency being under pressure. They're talking about the allegation which their senior leaders have been raising in the past. Look at the visual, Swati.
Behaving as if Gandhis are above law, Priyank. I want
to sit down on the road and every kind of practice.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, Swati.
Yes, Priyank, please go ahead. We can now see a situation
What
now
we
on
were
the
trying
roads.
to ask to these party workers that if you know that they sent, the federal, the federal agency is about to complete the investigation. The prosecution is about to be filed. Certainly, there were missing links in the documented fact, leading to which the AD wanted to carry out searches. That's why these searches are being carried out, so that at 12 locations, wherever the documented facts have been missing over the period of investigation, the ED wanted to bring out those documents. If they're not questioning anyone, they're trying to dig out detail, they're trying to take out the paperwork, which is important for them, because at the end, any agency is liable before the court of the law, and the court must ask them, because there have been so much of scrutiny, pressure, which is being mounted up on the ED officials by the Congress party leaders. They need to be in position so that they can give the documented fact before the court. So to be logical before the court, the ED
has
is
every right
trying
to
to collect
carry out
information.
the raids and corroborate the charges with evidence, with documents. I want to bring in Akanksha as well. Akanksha, but what the Congress workers here are doing are behaving as if Gandhis are above law and causing inconvenience to the Aam Aadmi, because ED is conducting raids in the National Herald case.
Well, absolutely, what we're witnessing here right now is our sit-in dharnas. There was a flash mob and also demonstration. But also, the most important point here is that traffic is being affected here. This is a peak hour of the day during which people travel to their home. And as you can see, it has been blocked. And this is the main area of the national capital, not even 3 kilometers from the parliament. And a lot of commuters go back to their home at this time. So definitely, these Congress workers think that they are above the law. They can do these sit-in dharnas anywhere, any time of the day, and will get away with that. We also spoke to them. They said that they do not need the permission of the police to carry out the protest. It will be a flash protest, and that they don't need any permission because of what the central government is doing to their leaders in the party. But definitely what we're witnessing is that they are continuing their momentum against what they call is political vendetta and misuse of agencies against the central government. At one side, you can see that they have gathered, they're standing, but they're also sitting dharnas at various parts of the road. And they've gathered here in huge numbers. They did not inform the police, so the police was caught off guard and did not have the capacity to control such large number. But now what we're seeing is that they are also not caring about the commuter, the common people of this country, and thinking that they're above the law. This is the main area. This is ITO, from where people commute every day. Generally here at this location in the city, there are traffic jam, but because of this flash mob today, the commuters are affected. but they're not stopping. Police is asking them to disperse time and again, but they are refusing to leave this area. They initially started the protest outside the Herald house, but then eventually they all went to the main road and now are moving towards the the red light of this area. And refusing to deter. Initially, police, as we can see, is also trying to gather more and more officials here so that such a situation can be controlled, but it does not appear so, because these people are moving forward in this area, affecting the common people of the national capital.
Absolutely, causing inconvenience to the Aam Aadmi, because the Gandhis are being investigated in the National Herald case because they're being interrogated. I want to go back to Priyank. In fact, the raids are now intensifying, and it's a multi-city raid at 12 locations. This is, happening after Sonia Gandhi was interrogated, Priyank.
Yes, Swati, and this is very important stage of the investigation, Swati, because Congress leaders Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi have already recorded their statement. Rahul Gandhi has recorded his statement for around 48 hours. Sonia Gandhi has recorded a statement for 9 hours. So what it appears that they have a very series of paperwork which are missing. That's why these searches are being carried out. There have been some leads which the agency have got, which they want to clear out after gathering more information in respect to the documented paperwork, following to which the raids were started early morning today around 10 to 10:30, where the enforcement directorate reached to 12 locations across the country, which is one of the locations was the National Herald office, which has been under the eye of storm soon after the enforcement directorate started their investigation. But what happened after that? We know that the Congress party leaders came out and they held a press conference, and they once again repeated the same thing, the same line which they have been saying time and again, much before the investigation can end up. But at this juncture, what we would certainly say that the agency need to be given fair chance to probe. The court has given the mandate for the agency to complete the investigation. The court is certainly something for which the agencies are liable to give explanation on. And now in the visuals you can clearly see that these Congress workers have come to the main I-2 intersection, which is the busiest intersection in the national capital, which the road which connects the Lieutenant Delhi to the eastern as well as the central part of the national capital, and these party workers have started protesting. The ED has been carrying out searches at 12 locations. One location in Kolkata is Detox company, which lended 1 crore rupee to the AJL without any kind of assurance. So obviously its road will come under scanner. There have been locations in Lucknow where the agencies have been carrying out searches. Look at the drama. Look at the drama on the streets of the national capital, only because a central agency, a federal agency, is trying to bring out the truth. No one knows that whether ED will be is in a position to make few arrests in the case. No one knows that whether the AD has ample evidence to, finally go to the court of law and file its prosecution campaign. That's why the enforcement directorate is trying to bring out more truth. And the only process by which, since it's an old case, is to carry out searches, to gather information, to bring out more papers, which can be proven before the court of law that what has been the status of investigation. But what it appears that the Congress party workers have been protesting at several locations where the enforcement directorate have been carrying out searches is certainly something which is very serious in nature. At the ITO intersection where me and my colleague Akansha have been reporting.
Akansha, in fact, stay on with us. We are also getting reactions now. As far as the Bharatiya Janata Party is concerned, the BJP has responded to the vendetta jibe taken by the Congress party. Let's play other reaction.
आज जब ईडी की कार्रवाई हो रही है तो वहां पर जयराम रमेश जी कहते हैं कि हमें चुप कराने की साजिश है। जयराम रमेश जी से पूछा जाना चाहिए कि ये जो पूरा का पूरा नेशनल हेरल्ड का मामला है, जिसमें 2000 करोड़ की सार्वजनिक संपत्ति, जिसमें 2000 करोड़ की संपत्ति जिसका अधिकार हमारे देश के वीरों का था, हमारे देश के लिए बलिदान देने वाले स्वतंत्रता के सेनानियों का था, उसको लूट कर एक परिवार की जेब में डालने का जब कार्य किया गया तो यूपीए की सरकार थी जब एक कोर्ट ने संज्ञान लेते हुए आपराधिक मामले सोनिया गांधी और राहुल गांधी पर दर्ज करवाने के आदेश किए। क्या कोर्ट भी चुप कराने की साजिश कर रहा था और क्या कोर्ट भी वेंडेटा पॉलिटिक्स कर रहा था?
Well, we are being told that the Congress workers are now being detained. Priyank is joining us live with more on this. Yes, Priyank, over to you. Priyank, can you hear me? Okay, all right. We'll try to connect with Priyank. Meanwhile, let's play our reactions coming in from the Congress party. Congress leaders say there was no money laundering involved and this is just political vendetta.
How come only the opposition party leaders are being targeted? How come that all those people, those who were sent notices, those who were sent summons by these agencies who joined BJP are not being sent any notices now? 100% it's a case of vendetta against opposition leaders. In National Herald case, it is an open and shut case. There are there's no money laundering happened either in cash or in account. No property has been transferred from somebody's name to somebody's name. It is all there from one firm to other firm in the form of change, and everything is there in public domain, and the whole country has debated on this issue already.
Sir, ED has raided the Herald house today.
These are all the diversion politics, diversion tactics of BJP government. Now the issue Parliament is discussing price rise and unemployment, all issues are there. They want to divert the entire issue and they want to do political vendetta. Let them do it. We will face it.
So Congress leaders saying that this is a diversionary tactic that has been adopted by the BJP to divert attention from price rise and GST. But remember, the ED investigation has been going on for quite some time now. In fact, both Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi have been questioned by the ED. Today, multi-city raids at 12 locations, including the Herald House, underway at this point of time. And Congress workers are protesting against that. Quick break on the broadcast.
Good evening, with Breaking Ground. I'm Alvaz Gopalakrishnan. First up, a quick look at some of the top stories that are making news today. There's more links unearthed in the SSC scam probe. Public outrage against former West Bengal minister grows. A woman threw her slipper at Patra Chawl and remained unapologetic for her act. ED has so far raided 7 locations in Kolkata and adjoining areas in connection with the teachers' recruitment scam investigation. These include 5 residences in Kolkata belonging to Arpita Mukherjee. Enforcement Directorate has also recovered 3 diaries which have details of money transactions from Arpita's residence in Kolkata. Post raids at her residence, Arpita Mukherjee continues to defend herself, claiming that the seized money does not belong to her and was kept there in her absence. West Bengal Leader of Opposition Suvendu Adhikari has met Union Home Minister Amit Shah and submitted a list of 100 names allegedly involved in the SSC scam. Bengal BJP Unit Chief Sukanta Majumdar said that the Chappal attack on Partha reflects public anger against the ruling TMC Sarkar. The BJP's vow to expose the alleged corruption of the Mamata government. Arrested West Bengal Minister Patra Chawl has been non-cooperating with sleuths of the ED as he's not replied to most of their questions in connection with the probe in a school job scam. Now, this is what an official of a central agency has said. A day after Rahul Gandhi accused the Modi government of using agencies to silence critics, ED raids the Herald house in the National Herald case. Sources say the probe agency is establishing a trail of funds. The Central Agency also raided a total of 12 locations in the National Herald case probe. The raids come less than a week after ED grilled Congress chief Sonia Gandhi. Post ED raid at the Herald House, Congress workers have staged a protest outside the Herald House. Now, coming out in support of Rahul Gandhi, NCP MP Supriya Sule has accused the BJP government of misusing probe agencies to harass opposition leaders. ED has intensified its crackdown in the Patra Chawl scam case and has summoned more suspects, as well as it has begun launching raid at 2 more locations. Probe into Karnataka BJP worker Praveen's murder case has gathered pace. Dakshin Kannada police today arrested 2 more persons, while cops are on the lookout for 4 more of the accused. Culture Ministry will organize a Tiranga bike rally for MPs from Red Fort to Parliament tomorrow morning. Union Minister Patra Chawl appealed to members of all political parties to attend and promote the Tiranga rally. A Nigerian national living in Delhi tests positive for monkeypox. This is the 3rd monkeypox case in Delhi. A 30-year-old man who came to Kerala from UAE last month has tested positive for monkeypox, making him the 5th case of the virus from the southern state. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia has addressed the Rajya Sabha over the rising cases of monkeypox in India. The Union Minister has told the House that India is well prepared to handle the infectious disease and is taking important steps to curb the spread. The first patient who was detected with monkeypox in Delhi has successfully recovered in a span of 25 days. He is being discharged as well as all the symptoms which have now waned away. Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Patra Chawl has said that BJP will hold a crucial meeting on August 5th in the upcoming vice presidential polls. Mr. Patas in Karnataka Congress camp, 3rd name emerges for Chief Minister candidate. Veerappa Moily has openly backed senior Patil for the post. Aam Aadmi Party has released its list of 10 candidates for the Gujarat Assembly elections. These elections will take place across 111 constituencies later this year. AAP, which has registered a thumping win in the recently concluded Punjab elections, is now eyeing a strong base in the western state. Lieutenant General Daljit Singh, Director General of Medical Services, has been appointed as the honorary surgeon to the President of India. A case has been registered against the manager of Kanpur's Florets International School for hurting religious sentiments in the matter of teaching the Kalma prayer meeting. After the preliminary investigation of the case, the DM had called for a report from the ACM and the DSA. Jharkhand Assembly Speaker Rabindranath Mahato has suspended 4 legislators of the BJP camp till the 4th of August for unruly behavior in the state. The government is taking action against dubious digital loan apps, including those originating from outside the country and also Indians who helped in setting them up. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has given this information in the Rajya Sabha. UP government sources have said that senior SP leader Ram Gopal Yadav's meeting with Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath was to shield SP leaders Jogendra Yadav and Rameshwar Yadav. They have about 80 cases of land grab on them. Now, workers of the Uddhav Thackeray camp and Shinde camp clashed after Chief Minister Shinde's picture was removed from a Shiv Sena office. The Shinde camp supporters again put up his picture. Income tax officials conducting raids in 40 places in Tamil Nadu with film producers Anbariran as well as Karaipuli and S. Tanu. S.R. Prabhu are amongst those who've been raided. Newly appointed Delhi Police Commissioner Sanjay Arora met Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday, a day after he took charge of the force. Oil prices have declined, in fact, by rupees 289 to 51,877 per 10 grams in the national capital. This is as far as gold is concerned, and silver has also fallen sharply by 841 rupees. India reports more than 13,000 new COVID cases with 27 deaths in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate stands at 98.49%. ISO-certified Sadar Hospital in Gopalganj district of Bihar was flooded in light rain. The emergency ward was filled with water. In fact, the patients and their families were forced to undergo treatment between doctors' chambers. A grenade exploded on the roof of the police post in Gool under Ramban district. According to the police, a crude bomb had been hurled at the police post, and Jammu and Kashmir Ghaznavi force has claimed responsibility for the attack in a letter. More than 40 locations across Tamil Nadu were searched by the Income Tax Department over the suspected tax evasion by some of the Tamil film producers and distributors. Indian Coast Guard and the West Bengal fishermen have hoisted the Indian tricolour in the middle of the Bay of Bengal. It was done as part of the Har Ghar Tiranga movement to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The NH highway which connects Siliguri to Gangtok and Kalimpong was blocked due to the Birik Dara, due to the landslide, in fact, in that particular area. Rao's Avenue Court of Delhi has sought a response of the CBI on a bail plea by Ajay Ramesh Nawandar, allegedly an aide of gangster Dawood Ibrahim's close associate Chota Shakil. He was recently arrested in connection with an alleged bank fraud of 34,615 crore rupees by DHFL. Following incessant rains in the southern state, IMD has issued a red alert for 7 districts of Kerala. The red alert has been issued for Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam, amongst other districts of the state. 6 more people have been arrested in the Fazil murder case. According to the police report, all the accused belong to the Suhas Shetty gang, and further investigation will reveal the motive of the murder. Chennai will have an airport at Parandur at an estimated cost of 20,000 crore rupees. This, along with the existing Meenambakam airport, will function simultaneously. United States killed Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in a precision strike in Kabul, the Afghanistan capital. After a big success in the war against terror, United States President Joe Biden has said that now justice has been delivered. There's a lens on Pakistan's likely hand in shielding Zawahiri. The Al-Qaeda chief was hiding in a house owned by the aide of Pak-backed Haqqani network's top boss. Now this is what reports claim. Pakistan's Election Commission has ruled that former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party had received illegal funds. The United States has accused Russia of using Ukraine's biggest nuclear power plant as a nuclear shield by stationing Russian troops there. US crypto firm Nomad has been hit by a $190 million theft. The incident is being investigated. Several Chinese warplanes flew close to the median line dividing the Taiwan Strait ahead of US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit in Taipei. 4 US warships, including an aircraft carrier, were positioned in waters east of Taiwan amidst Chinese anger over the US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit. South Korea's consumer inflation sped up to an almost 24-year high in July. India will extend an additional $100 million line of credit to the Maldives. And here's a top story that we're tracking right here on Times Now, and it's on a scam where we have broken every piece of information and kept you ahead. Because ultimately, the SSC scam that has exploded in Bengal is not about just one individual Partha or any one particular political party. It's about the people who were cheated and defrauded. And it is this anger of the people that burst forth today. Even as Patra Chawl and Arpita Mukherjee were produced in hospital for a medical checkup, a woman present there hurled her slipper at Partha. This action only showing the anger and disgust of the common people at the scale of corruption and graft being unearthed every week as the ED action and the SSC recruitment scam continues. After a slippergate, the lady gave voice to Bengal's Manus.
অসুবিধা হচ্ছে দিদি সব মানুষের যা অসুবিধা হচ্ছে সব আচ্ছা কেন কি হয়েছে দিদি কেন বাচ্চাটাকে আমাদেরকে জুতো ছুঁড়ে মারলেন কেন জুতো ছুঁড়ে মেরেছে জুতো ছুঁড়ে মারলেন আরে কাইন্ডা শুনুন আমার পেশেন্ট অসুস্থ আমি ওনাকে জুতো মারতে আসছি জুতো মেরে আমি খালি হয়ে পড়ে যাচ্ছি কেন জুতো মারলেন কেন আরে জুতো মেরে কি আপনারা জানেন না হ্যাঁ জনসাধারণের কত গরিব মানুষের টাকা নিয়ে কোটি কোটি টাকা রাত্রিতে রেখে দিয়েছেন কেন ওনাকে এসি গাড়ি চালিয়ে ওনাকে গলায় দড়ি দিয়ে টানতে টানতে নিয়ে আসবেন এসি গাড়ি আপনি জুতো মেরে খুশি হয়েছেন তো হ্যাঁ আরে খুশি হতে হয় জুতো মেরে যদি ওনার টাকা লাগতো থ্যাংক ইউ আপনি এখন খালি পায়ে যাবেন.
The action has led the opposition to sharpen its attack on Mamata Banerjee, reiterating that her delayed action against Partha Chawl has done nothing to assuage people's sense of hurt, especially since many ministers and MLAs connected to the scam continue to enjoy the party's backing. Also, the TMC tried to distance itself from the scam but stayed quiet on how main accused Arpita Mukherjee continued to enjoy the TMC platform during party functions and campaigns.
ये जो सिंडिकेट है ओपा सिंडिकेट इसकी मालकिन का नाम ममता बनर्जी है. शी इज द किंग पिन ऑफ द करप्शन. और आपने नेफ्यू अभिषेक बनर्जी ही इज द डायरेक्टर ऑफ दिस सिंडिकेट. ये रुपया पार्थो जी का रुपया नहीं है, ये टीएमसी का रुपया है, ममता जी का रुपया है, उनकी भातीजा का रुपया है. ये 100 से ज़्यादा कलेक्टर का नाम मैं दिया, उसमें कुछ एमएलए भी है, कुछ मंत्री भी है. 4 एमएलए का लेटर हेड पैड भी मैं जमा किया जिन्होंने लिस्ट करके दिया था. वो तो अंदर की बात है. केवल रुपया नहीं है, 50 करोड़ रुपया नहीं है, 200 करोड़ से ज़्यादा प्रॉपर्टी का अभी तक बरामद हुई है. और भी कितना है भगवान जाने, आगे आएगा. बहुत लंबा मामला है, बहुत बड़ा घपला है. तो मानी किसी का ये तो पता चलेगा. उनका घर में है लेकिन उनको मालूम नहीं है कि रुपया किसका है. जिन्होंने देख रेख किया है, भेजा है, उनको मालूम नहीं है. ऐसा नहीं चलता है. सब मालूम है, बहुत लोग इसमें जुड़े हुए हैं, इसलिए थोड़ा समय लगेगा सच्चाई सामने आने में.
This, in fact, public anger or backlash has come out on a day when the ED has carried out fresh raids on properties related to Partha Chawl and Arpita Mukherjee. Total of 7 places were raided across Kolkata. 2 residences of Arpita were targeted, along with 2 nail art studios in South Kolkata and Tobinagar in North Kolkata. Additionally, 2 more residences in Barasat and Madhur Dharha were also searched. But when confronted with questions, both Arpita and Partha denied that the cash recovered was theirs.
আমার অনুপস্থিতিতে আমার টাকা ঢোকানো হয়েছে.
All right, let's take this across to our guest. Joining us, we have with us Sandeep Ghosh, political commentator and author. Also with us is Badal Debnath, who's the leader of the TMC. Mr. Debnath, I'll begin with you first. What is being seen, or at least the responses coming in, is that this is a spontaneous anger of the people that is bursting forth. And of course, the BJP has come out to say because of the delayed action of TMC in terms of actually distancing and also the fact that there are several within the party currently who enjoy the support of the leadership of the party, but no action is being announced against them. Your response to that?
Let me clear about this. Partha Chawl has been expelled from the party and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has been relieved from the post of the minister. Number 2, he will be able to say, well, that he has done corrupt and not. And ED is investigated and sometime the real facts will come out. Number 3, but can you tell me, Union Minister, Mr. Amit Shah's son, Joy Shah, after becoming Secretary of BCCI, how is his income increasing in crores of rupees? Will CBI and ED investigate for that? Sir, दिलीप घोष एवं शुभेंदु अधिकारी ऑपोजिशन लीडर ऑफ बीजेपी अभी बहुत कुछ बोल रहा है। मैं बार बार आप लोगों को मैं कहना चाहता हूं, इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने दीजिए, उसके बाद टोटल रिपोर्ट आ जाएगा। और सर अर्पिता चैटर्जी के घर से, अर्पिता के घर में कुछ
सर रोज रेड हो रहा है, रोज पैसा रिकवर हो रहा है। अर्पिता एंड पार्था से दैट इज मनी इज नॉट आवर्स, हमारा पैसा नहीं है। व्हाट इज द कॉमन मैन टू मेक ऑफ इट? वेयर वाज दिस मनी कमिंग फ्रॉम? एंड इफ सच अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी वाज बीइंग कलेक्टेड, इज इट पॉसिबल दैट nobody else knew about it? Let me take that question across to Sandeep Ghosh. Sandeep Ghosh, of course you have the TMC in fact putting the blame at the BJP, also pointing out to their instances of alleged corruption, but two wrongs cannot make a right. And the fact that we are seeing the public anger come out in this manner, where the common citizen is so incensed with the kind of brazen and blatant corruption where crores and crores have been hoarded away by allegedly these leaders, as per what the agency says, there is no explanation coming in, and this is going to continue to be a very significant issue or a sticking point, politically speaking, at least in the state of West Bengal, because there are just fresh revelations coming out every day.
See, Madhav, first of all, I don't think there is any need to respond to the PMC spokesperson's references to Amit Shah's son, etc. The two cases are chalk and cheese. If at all there is a corruption there, it's nothing to do with the kind of corruption which one is talking about here, which is a political corruption by a politician and which has been caught, in blatant camera. Now, when you're talking about the anger, this one isolated incident does not show or prove anything. It could be also a matter of somebody who's a person who just lost her cool or whatever they have done. But the bigger issue is today, what is the common people in West Bengal thinking? I saw a long 10-minute video by one of the top movie directors of Bengal, celebrated movie director. He was saying that what are the so-called intellectuals, who were earlier in one part and today here, why are they silent? Why are those people not opening their mouth? And so those are the issues, and that is what Trinamool needs to be worried about. As I've always said, it is a matter of perception. It's a matter of, there has been, nobody can deny there is a perception of a large-scale corruption in West Bengal. It is a question of now, the chickens coming home to roost. And Patra Chatterjee is probably the starting point.
All right, chickens are coming home to roost. Partha Chatterjee is probably the starting point. Respond to that, Badal Devnath, because the charges and the cash stashes are just coming out day after day. In fact, you've seen the BJP come out to say that slipper that was hurled today was meant for Mamata Banerjee. That's what the BJP is saying.
Sir, can you tell me, please, sir, all that opposition leader, opposition of the country are being stored. Only BJP leaders are saints. साधु है, सब साधु. How is this possible? मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, crores of rupees are being spent through the government of any state, and the BJP sent. Crores of rupees are being spent of the destroy the government, and they are sent. सरकार भागने के लिए, खेलने के लिए, सरकार तोड़ने के लिए करोड़ रुपया, 200 करोड़, 100 करोड़. गुजरात में लाखों करोड़ रुपया का ड्रग्स मिल रहा है. यूपी में weapons scam में शिवराज सिंह चौहान के खिलाफ.
So what does that have to do with this case? One second, sir. If there is evidence of any of this money exchanging hands, please put it out in the public domain. My question to you at the moment is what we are discussing vis-a-vis Partha. I'm not here to defend if there is any act or wrongdoing that has been done by anyone in the BJP. That's fine. You can raise those allegations. But let us go by the facts in this particular case. The fact is that a slipper has been thrown today. And sir, can you deny that this represents the public's outrage and disgust at this episode, where crores and crores are being recovered from flats? Who does this money belong to? We don't know, because both Partha and Arpita say it's not ours. What's going on, sir?
बिल्कुल सर, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा, लेकिन पार्थो चैटर्जी का मैंने फिर मैं एक पे कहना चाह रहा, पार्थो चैटर्जी has been expelled from the party. इसलिए मैं
others associated with this?
लेना चाहता हूँ, लेकिन
sir, what about the others associated with this episode who are still within TMC? Will action be taken on them also?
मैं आपको इसलिए कहा, he will be able to stay with what is done at the corrupt and not, and ED is investigating, and sometimes the real fact will come out.
Okay, let the facts come out. But Sandeep Ghosh, this is the allegation. The allegation, to the best of my understanding, is this, that there are others linked to this supposed scam, this SSC scam, who are still very much in TMC. Will action be taken on those individuals? We haven't got a clear answer yet from Mr. Badal Devnath. Sandeep Ghosh.
That's one, Madhav. And the second thing is just expelling a person for this kind of a humongous, visible irregularity is not enough. The state government, the TMC themselves should have their own investigation to figure out. This is ultimately a question of their own credibility. Also, you just cannot hang one person. Okay, somebody has done a small offense, etc. You say that we don't know out. But here, this 50 crores, you see the list of properties of Patra Chawl, which is coming out. They say you need a separate, counting machine to keep a list of the properties which are coming out of Patra Chawl. His flats, his dumpers, trucks which are operating, and the whole works. So Trinamool Congress has to also initiate its own investigation. His job doesn't end by washing their hands off by saying we have expelled them from the party. What is Trinamool? And I keep repeating, Ms. Mamata Banerjee has said Calcutta police is second only to the Scotland Yard. Now, if Calcutta police is second to the Scotland Yard, what is the Calcutta police doing in this matter?
Very, very important questions. Respond to that, Badal Devnath.
मैं आपको इस बारे में हिंदी में मैं कहना चाहता हूँ, संदीप बाबू आप भी सुन लीजिए। बांग्ला के संस्कृति, बांग्ला के कल्चर पूरा देश के अंदर, पूरे विश्व के अंदर एक अलग अलग थीम से चलता है। बंगाल काली पूजा, सरस्वती पूजा, विवेकानंद ऋषि अरविंद का बांग्ला है, विवेकानंद नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र का बांग्ला है। इस बांग्ला अभी तक इस विषय में, इस सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर आज तक इतना पैसा कोई करोड़ लोग, 10 करोड़ लोग दिखा नहीं है। बंगाल का कल्चर ऐसा नहीं है। मैंने फिर से मैं आपको अनुरोध करूंगा, एक बंगाल के वोटर हूँ, बासिंदा हूँ या नागरिक हूँ, मैं सिटीजन हूँ और पूरा देश के मैं सिटीजन हूँ। मैं एक बार रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, पूरा जांच होने दीजिए। जांच होने के बाद किसका पैसा क्या है और पार्थ चैटर्जी को पार्टी से एक्सपेल किया गया और पार्थ चैटर्जी का कोई दोषी पाया जाए तो उसके ऊपर दीदी ने कह दिया उसको फांसी में लौटा दो, आई डोंट केयर, दीदी ने खुद कह दिया। और अर्थात मैं कहना चाहता हूँ इस विषय में पार्टी चर्चा नहीं करना चाहते, लेकिन पार्थोदा हमारे सीनियर लीडर थे। जांच पूरा होने दीजिए, दोषी पाया जाता है उसका तो फांसी होने दीजिए, जेल होने दीजिए, कड़ी से कड़ी सजा होने दीजिए, कोई बात नहीं है। लेकिन दोषी नहीं होगा, अर्पिता का पैसा होगा। अर्पिता अभी निकल रहा है, अर्पिता जुआ खेलते थे, बेटिंग करते थे, बेटिंग में पैसा लगाते थे, उसका बहुत सारे पैसा कमाने का बहुत सारे जगह ऐसे लोग जो जिसके साथ रिलेशन है उसके पास से करोड़ रुपया तो पैसा मिलेगा। लेकिन पार्थ चैटर्जी बोल रहा है ये मेरा पैसा नहीं है।
A small time actor of Bengal who acts in TV serials, if they can earn 50 crores, I think you will be giving Kareena Kapoor and Alia Bhatt and people a complex who are, who I don't think earn anything close to that. If just by acting in some Odia films, TV serials and this thing, assuming they play, there should be another set of people who are willing to lose 50 crores for her to get 50 crores. Let's not brush it aside. People will, this is the thing, living in denial, people in Bengal are no longer going
Sir,
to...
not only that 50 crores rupees, उसके साथ लाखों करोड़ रुपया का घर मिल रहा है, मकान मिल रहा है, दलील मिल रहा है सिर्फ अर्पिता के नाम से। और पार्थ चैटर्जी के साथ उसका रिलेशन है, ये भी हम सब पहले तो जानता नहीं था।
That's exactly that only makes the point made by Sandeep Ghosh stronger, sir. If there's so much of money being found, what is the source of this money, if not for this scam which is being alleged? That's the question that people really want to know the answer of. Unfortunately, there are no answers coming forth yet. Investigating agencies are certainly doing their job, but of course, the political allegations also, in fact, in this entire matter, charges and counter charges only continuing. Meanwhile, public anger, of course, is quite visible and palpably visible in this particular case. I'd like to thank both our guests for joining us, Sandeep Ghosh as well as Badal Devnath for joining us and getting us your perspective on the story. Moving on to another top focus story. The heat is on the Gandhis in the National Herald case. A week after Sonia Gandhi was questioned for a third time, today the Enforcement Directorate carried out searches at Herald House and 11 other locations across the country in the alleged money laundering case. The agency is investigating alleged financial irregularities in Congress-promoted young Young Indian Private Limited, which owns the National Herald newspaper. Both Sonia and Rahul Gandhi were directors in Young Indian, and raids at the official premises of National Herald had sparked massive protests in Delhi, with Congress workers hitting the streets. Even as ED officials were conducting the raid inside, Congress workers were protesting outside the office against the enforcement director's action.
Started early morning today, but now as you can see, Congress workers have gathered here and they're raising slogans against these raids which have started since morning. They gathered here a few minutes back and they told us that they have not taken any permission from the police. After some time, police came to them and tried to speak to them, asking them to go away, but they deterred, and now police, as you can see, have intervened and they're pushing the police also. We'll just go across and speak to few people here.
ED, this is a blatant misuse of Enforcement Directorate. This is nothing but a harassment on a newspaper which is the voice of freedom struggle. So we are opposing this. ED,
you are protesting.
प्रोटेस्ट तब तक चलेगा जब तक ये नेशनल हेराल्ड मामला ईडी का दुरुपयोग करना नरेंद्र मोदी जी बंद नहीं कर देंगे। राहुल गांधी के सिपाही हैं, किसी के बाप से नहीं लड़ते।
As you can see, they are also raising these cards on the street, written that national herald का बहाना है, मकसद मोदी सरकार को ईडी तंत्र का दुरुपयोग। So as you can see, opposition has time again been saying that this is a political vendetta and that the central government is misusing agencies. As you can see, these people here have gathered from the Congress party, but they do not have any permission to carry out this protest.
Now, even though this case has been going on for over a decade, the Enforcement Directorate late last year had registered a fresh case under the PMLA's criminal provisions. Tax evasion, fraud and money laundering are the charges that the Gandhis face. The BJP is hit out at the Congress's attempt to shield the first family.
Now, since morning, the ED is conducting raid in 12 locations across the country regarding the National Herald case. To talk more on this, I have been joined by Dr. Subramaniam Swamy. Sir, the ED is conducting raids in 12 locations, including the National Herald House and other locations in Lucknow and Kolkata as well. What are your thoughts on this, sir?
Well, it was overdue. I'm sorry that what I originally filed as a complaint after getting the Gandhis in to take a bail and so on in the main 4 IPC sections, and after that I went on to the associated parts, which is where did they get the money, how did they get the money. So ED was asked for to go into this question of the Dortex fiasco, and in fact it was a fraud, and they didn't, because Mr. Jaitley was of the view that we should not investigate these things, and he didn't see anything wrong. But then in 2019 I gave a much larger documentation, and then of course the ED registered a case, and now they are in the process of concluding it, because they have to do these interrogations and then put a charge sheet and start the trial. So I think whatever the ED is doing systematically, and I don't understand what is there to protest. Do you mean to say that during Congress period there weren't these kinds of things done? Some of us had faced all kinds of false cases, which I won in court, like, hate speech here, this kind of rubbish, you see. There were no, they couldn't find anything else, so they went on to create problems for me in the social arena by saying that I was anti-Muslim and therefore I should be prosecuted. Of course, they failed in every one of those cases. So, but we didn't complain, we didn't do demonstrations, nothing of the kind. And we went to court and fought. And the same thing they should be doing. Going to court, fighting it. Don't ask for adjournment. Say, no, we want day-to-day hearing. They don't do any of that. This demonstration is for what? To fool the people that the public is unhappy. So therefore, if you catch a crook and he has got lots of followers in a village, doesn't mean I don't catch him. There are people like Haji Mastan and so on who had a lot of support in the areas they were living in Bombay. So I think the Congress is discrediting itself and they're only publicizing their own crimes. And I think we should just ignore it and the ED should go forward with it.
So today also there was a protest by...
So that was Subramanian Swamy, who's the original petitioner as far as the National Herald case is concerned, giving his views and saying that this action is long delayed. We're going to slip into a very quick break. Siddharth will be back with the news on the other side. Stay tuned.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, a free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shiv Shankar.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು, ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಲಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕು, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ತುಂಬಬೇಕು, ನೈತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಆಗಬೇಕು. ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರು ದೇಶಾದ್ಯಂತ ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನನ್ನ ಗಂಡನ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ, ನನ್ನ ಮಗನ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ತೆಯ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ, ನೆಹರು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಋಣ ತೀರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ 2 ಹೊತ್ತಿನ ಊಟ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. 3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು, ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ, ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ. ಈ ಕಿಂಚತ್ತು ತ್ಯಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ತಯಾರಾಗದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಳು ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ.
He has openly confessed, he has openly admitted. In fact, taking this cognizance, I think our agencies should book a case, should really book a case against him and also make an enquiry, because he would be knowing who are all the beneficiaries.
Breaking ground, I'm Siddharth Talia. Now, the government has released an important set of data on the floor of the House in the Lok Sabha, where it stated that 81 Chinese nationals have been given leave India notices. 117 others, again from China, who were deported for violating visa conditions and other illegal acts between 2019 and 2022. This is an admission coming from Mr. Nityanand Rai, the MOS home, where he placed these figures on the floor of the House in the Lok Sabha. Now, the Leave India notices bit is especially important, and as many as 81 Chinese nationals were given that over a period of 3 years. And that's because, well, let me in fact go across to Aishwarya for more details on this. Aishwarya, what can you tell us about the details being put out by the MOS home on the floor of the House? Because the Leave India notices are only issued for those nationals who end up overstaying in the country, not just in violation of visa conditions, but doing so intentionally and unjustifiably.
Well, the Home Ministry today on the floor of the House clearly replied on a question that whether the government is aware of Chinese citizens residing in the country without visa or under expired, in which the government clearly stated that all the records of such foreigners have been maintained, especially of Chinese nationals who have entered with a valid travel document. But if there is an overstay or it is intentional or due to the ignorance of complying the visa process, then there has been an appropriate measure which have been taken in terms of the Chinese nationals. As far as the foreigners Act 1946, the government of India have taken appropriate actions to whom they have overstayed and found to be intentional and unjustifiable excuse. It has been said during the period of 3 years between 2019 to 2021, the government has put on the data on record that 81 Chinese nationals were given to leave India notice and 117 were deported between this period. Also, the government has clearly stated that 726 were placed in adverse list of violating visa conditions and other illegal acts, and therefore there have been stringent actions that have been taken against those who are responsible to violate the Foreign Act.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Aishwarya. Strict action taken by the Indian government against 81 Chinese nationals who were basically found to be staying in the country illegally beyond what their visa allowed, and that too intentionally. Thanks for that update. We'll turn our attention now to a global health concern that's been flagged by the World Health Organization. Now, 9 cases of monkeypox have been reported so far in India, and a national task force has been constituted to monitor the development of diagnostics as well as vaccines vis-a-vis monkeypox. Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia today informed the Rajya Sabha that steps are being taken on the part of the government to prevent the spread of the disease and to develop testing kits as well as vaccines. Airport and health officers have been instructed to remain absolutely vigilant and undertake rigorous health screening of incoming international passengers. The National Institute of Virology in Pune has been designated as a referral laboratory for testing suspected cases in relation to monkeypox, and in addition, 15 other ICMR-linked laboratories have been optimized to undertake diagnostic testing for the monkeypox disease. Central teams have also been deployed on the detection of confirmed cases to affected districts to assist in and control containment efforts in this regard as well.
और मंकी पॉक्स डिसीज के संदर्भ में भी पब्लिक अवेयरनेस बहुत आवश्यक है। भारत सरकार की ओर से नीति आयोग के मेंबर की अध्यक्षता में हमने एक टास्क फोर्स भी बना दिया है। टास्क फोर्स के आधार पर वो समय समय पर उसका आकलन करते, स्टडी करते। मैंने भी और सभी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को लेटर भी लिखा है, तब जाके अपने स्टेट में भी उसके अवेयरनेस के कार्यक्रम चलाए, पब्लिक को अवेयर करें। कई एक्सपर्ट लोग भी टेलीविजन के माध्यम से पब्लिक अवेयरनेस करके डीप कॉन्टेक्ट से ऐसे कोई संदिग्ध केस है तो उससे दूर रहे। दूर केवल इतना ही रहना है कि उसके जो नजदीक के लोग हैं वो उसके अंतर बनाए रखे, बाकी घबराने की आवश्यकता नहीं। कई बार ऐसा होता है कि कई लोग ज्यादा बोलने से ऐसा तैसा बोलने से पब्लिक में एक फियर आ जाता है, डर आ जाता है। एक केस के मंकी पॉक्स के संदर्भ में डरने की कोई आवश्यकता नहीं है। भारत सरकार की ओर से स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के साथ कंसल्टेशन करके, बातचीत करके पब्लिक को स्टेट कंट्री में अवेयरनेस किया जा रहा है, ताकि एक डिसीज को आगे बढ़ते हुए हम रोक सकें।
This patient is from African subcontinent, and this patient had history of fever with the skin eruptions. He has maculopapular and vesicopostular rashes over the thighs, over the face, and over the anterior chest wall. Right now he has low-grade fever and he has skin lesions. We have kept him in the isolation facility, and a team of experts is taking care of him. Right now we have one positive confirmed monkeypox case from the Nigeria, and we have 2 suspected case. And we have sent the report, and we expect that the report may reach us in next 48 hours.
Now, that was a reference, of course, being made there about a Nigerian national who's contracted monkeypox and has been admitted in hospital here in India. We're joined right now by Dr. Subramaniam Swaminathan, the Director of the Infectious Diseases and Infection Control at Gleneagles Global Hospitals. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Dr. Swaminathan. Now, first and foremost, what are the symptoms of monkeypox that one should look out for before getting tested?
So monkeypox is primarily a cutaneous illness where a person can have fever and blisters, especially on the extremities, the hands and the feet, can have lesions on the face as well. Obviously, it's very easy to confuse this with other blistering illnesses, especially chickenpox. The difference is that the blisters here are far larger, but it's also important to understand that you're not going to get monkeypox unless you've been exposed to somebody who has had monkeypox. So we are primarily interested in people who are coming from overseas and in people who have had recent contact with people who have already had monkeypox. So unless you have all of this going together, the chance of a person having monkeypox is astronomically low.
Now, the cases in India as far as monkeypox is concerned are steadily rising. How real is the threat of this spreading, like a pandemic? That's one alarmist situation that one foresees. But what's really the status with respect to how it's spreading here in India?
Well, the WHO has acknowledged that monkeypox is being reported almost every continent and so many more countries right now. So I think we are still trying to find out the magnitude of the problem. It's too early for us to say how bad it is. But what we can say is this. The monkeypox issue has been going on for nearly a couple of months now, but in spite of it, it has not blown out of proportion, just like, say, COVID did. So obviously, it's something that is moving slowly and steadily. So there's no reason for us to lose our peace of mind over this and start panicking. But certainly it is something that we need to be concerned about and continue monitoring the situation. It's also important for people to know that it's not something that is a very dangerous virus and that it causes too many deaths or something. Deaths are fairly rare. But we need to get to the bottom of it to see exactly how much transmission there is and whether we are different from the Western world in terms of the strain and things like that. So a lot of work needs to be done for us to be able to say for sure exactly where we stand and how bad it is. But at this point, it's not so bad.
And what's the treatment, Dr. Swaminathan, as far as monkeypox is concerned, in order to not just cure it, but also treat it? Now, if those afflicted by monkeypox, what kind of treatment do they normally go through? What's administered?
Okay. So, for the overwhelming majority of people, the virus is practically self-limited. It will happen and it will get better. Most of the problems are being noted in people who have very, very poor immune system due to either cancer or some other medical problem. So the good news is most people don't need any specific medical therapy. Finally, it's also important to remember that we don't have any approved medicines which have been tested in a very large scale. There is a lot of drugs which are being looked at because there is in vitro, meaning test tube level data or limited clinical data. But I think it's too early for us to say, let's give this medicine or that medicine. Good common sense care is probably all that is required for most of the patients.
And a final question now, Dr. Swaminathan, how does India address this situation? It's now constituted a task force to deal with monkeypox. What do you think are its immediate priorities?
The first thing is understanding the magnitude of the problem. I think it's important to decentralize this and set up testing facilities at every region, possibly every state, so that the diagnosis can be done faster and cases can be identified faster, so that contact tracing can be done and it can limit the spread of the disease. That is very, very important, because this is one place where contact tracing can really make a difference. The second thing is we need to do genotypic studies to find out if the strain on the variant which is going around in India is very similar. Early data seems to suggest that we may be different. So I think we need to get more data on that and see if there is some difference in what is happening here. Third is that we also need to have evidence-based guidelines on care and things like that. And fourth, we also need to have good training of staff and the facilities so that they can remain safe in the care of patients with monkeypox, which basically means we'll have to set up centers where they have the facility to handle patients like this, and also not make it a stigma kind of a problem where, you don't want people handling this, but you want to have trained people handling this. So I think there are quite a few areas where they need to focus on simultaneously. But I think it's also important to decentralize so that care, a lot of this can be done at a local level itself, at a state level at least.
Much appreciated, Dr. Swaminathan. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us that perspective on how to actually deal with monkeypox here in India. Now, we turn our attention to something that Adar Poonawalla, the Chief Executive Officer of the Serum Institute of India, has had to say when specifically asked about the steps that India has been taking to fight this disease.
हम वैक्सीन की सब तैयारी कर रहे हैं और मिनिस्टर साहब को ब्रीफ किया।
सर, मंकी पॉक्स पे कब तक आ जाएगी वैक्सीन?
अभी देखिए, हम बेबी स्टेप्स ले रहे, देखेंगे जो मंकी पॉक्स की वैक्सीन ज़रूरत है कि नहीं हमारे देश में, बट हम रिसर्च पूरी तरह से कर रहे हैं, बहुत सारे वैक्सीन कंपनीज भी रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, देखेंगे। थैंक यू।
Turning our attention now to politics, a turf war underway between the different factions of the Shiv Sena, the Eknath Shinde faction and the Uddhav Thackeray faction, and that's now playing out in Dombivli, which is part of Thane district in Maharashtra, where workers of the Uddhav Thackeray camp and the Eknath Shinde camp clashed after Chief Minister of Maharashtra Eknath Shinde's picture was removed from a Shiv Sena office in Dombivli near Thane in Maharashtra. Shinde camp supporters then, of course, after having got into a scuffle with the Uddhav Thackeray faction, once again put his picture back up on the wall in that Shiv Sena office in Dombivli. You're seeing those visuals right now on your screen. This happened slightly earlier in the day, where the two factions of the Shiv Sena came to blows in Thane district in Maharashtra in Dombivli, which has traditionally been a stronghold of the Shiv Sena. Let me go across to Arunil Sadadekar for more on this. Arunil, if you could just tell our viewers what exactly happened, and this is happening in a part of Maharashtra which has traditionally been a stronghold of the Shiv Sena.
Very interesting point being mentioned by you, Siddharth, over here. Traditionally being a stronghold of the Shiv Sena, but now it comes under the Thane district, and Thane district has been a bastion of CM Eknath Shinde. So what exactly happened was, in this Shiv Sena office, the picture of CM Eknath Shinde was being removed by the Shiv Sena supporters from Uddhav Thackeray camp. That's what irked the supporters of CM Eknath Shinde. They basically barged into the office. They ensured that a kind of a physical altercation broke out inside the office only when they were putting up the picture of CM Eknath Shinde on the walls of that Shiv Sena Shaka office in Dombivli. Physical altercation broke out. There was an argument that took place inside the offices only, inside the office only, and one Shiv Sena worker could be seen coming out from the office. His shirt was torn off, and now whether the police will take a note of it, and that we'll be keeping an eye on it.
Absolutely. We'll see how this plays out, Arunil. Those are the visuals that you see from what transpired in Dombivli. Thank you for joining us. Now, turning our attention to foreign policy and deteriorating relations, one would say, between the United States as well as China, where there are major ripples being felt in the Indo-Pacific over the impending visit of the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, to Taiwan. She would become the first US official after Newt Gingrich in 1997 to be visiting Taiwan. That's an expected visit. She's yet to land there. And China has, of course, reacted with a great sense of alarm, warning the United States of what it says is a violation of the One China policy. Now, Taiwan, of course, China says is an extension, a geographical extension of China. It cannot be regarded as a separate territory. And there are lots of mind games, in fact, being played out between the two countries right now, with 4 US warships on patrol near Taiwan Straits. Let me go across to Shinjoy for more on this. Shinjoy, the Chinese, in fact, viewing this trip on the part of Nancy Pelosi as a violation of what they believe is Chinese sovereignty. How do we see this now playing out? Well, Shinjoy, coming back to you once again, the Chinese have taken exception to this impending visit to Taiwan on the part of Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the US House of Representatives. How do you see this playing out?
Well, it's going to get worse and worse, because already relations between the United States and China are almost at an all-time low. And this is despite the recent discussions between Biden and Xi Jinping. It's very clear that the Chinese don't like the idea of Nancy Pelosi, who is, as you rightly said, the top Democrat in the House of Representatives and in the same party as President Biden, going to Taiwan, even though she's been there before, as have other leaders. But the point is, the Chinese have taken exception now because they are a big power, they are a huge economic power, and they don't like this idea of America violating, as they call it, the one China situation. So they don't like Nancy Pelosi or any other American leader in Taiwan. The Americans are making it very clear that, look, we've been there before and we will probably be there again. But the Chinese don't like it, and we will have to see what action they take. That's the important thing. What is it that they will do now? Now that Nancy Pelosi has made it very clear that Taiwan is on her list of places to visit, what will the Chinese actually do? That's the point we have to look at, and that's something that will cause destabilization in the Indo-Pacific. There is no dispute about that the closer America and China are to this kind of situation, standoff, the more difficult it will be in the Indo-Pacific. How the Chinese will react, we don't know. But they will react, and they will not like it at all. So as a result, we have to wait and see what the next move of China is, because it's not going to be a very pleasant one for anybody.
And Shinjoy, the United States has pledged to protect Taiwan in the event of any Chinese aggression. And before Nancy Pelosi actually reaches Taipei, we are seeing US warships patrolling the Taiwan Straits. How do you actually see the Chinese reacting to something like this?
Well, we are not sure if this will lead to war, because to invade Taiwan is a huge effort. This is to invade Taiwan is not something you can do in one day. You can't suddenly say, okay, let's invade Taiwan and be done with it. It means an enormous effort, military, logistical, diplomatic, lots of things. Now, are the Chinese ready to do that? Are the Chinese ready to face those consequences? I'm not sure that they are. But there will be many other ways of hurting America. There are many other ways of creating trouble for America. And this is something Xi Jinping must be working out. How can I hurt America without hurting myself too much? And that is what we have to wait and see what he actually does.
And Shinjoy, something from the Indian dimension here, because India has, of course, not been very overt as far as its overtures to Taiwan is concerned, though the Taiwanese have been quite friendly to us in the recent past, particularly in the aftermath of what happened in Galwan. They, in fact, stood in solidarity with India against Chinese aggression. How do you see Indo-Taiwanese relations actually panning out, particularly after what happened and what we experienced in Galwan?
Well, India does not recognize Taiwan. First of all, India does not believe that Taiwan is an independent country. India believes in one China, and India believes that the People's Republic of China is the China that India will deal with. Nevertheless, there is a growing economic relationship.
Let me just interrupt you because we're being, in fact, joined by a journalist from Taiwan. Ms. Ting Ting, thank you so much for speaking to us. How are the Taiwanese on the ground in Taipei responding to the impending visit now of the U.S. Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi?
Thank you for having me today. So no doubt we are actually seeing there's many huge interests in Taiwan. Many people watching with bated breath, because as far as we know is that she is expected and she will probably land in Taiwan in just a few hours. But look, there are no official confirmation as of now, no official confirmation from the US side, and there's neither official confirmation from any Taiwanese officials. But anything from Taiwan is actually still considered quite the usual and quite normal percent, because it is of such a high-level delegation visit to Taiwan. The Taiwanese official will usually only announce or confirm anything after the plane officially landed on Taiwan soil. But as to how the Taiwanese are reacting to this, no doubt many people welcomes Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, but with caution, because we are actually seeing increasing in U.S.-China tensions on this issue. The Chinese, the PRC, have been seeing very strong rhetoric, very strong sentiments, very strong words. But at the same time, the general population, as to a lot of people ask me whether Taiwanese are generally fearful or are they scared. But look, they welcome Pelosi, they see with caution. But as to day-to-day life, like going to work, buying your food, buying your stuff, everything as per normal. There is no rush to stockpile anything.
Right.
Life is as per normal as of now. But no doubt there are actually pro-Chinese or pro-China or pro-PRC groups staging a protest at a hotel that is believed where Pelosi might stay. But look, Taiwan is a democratic country, so no doubt there are various reactions to Pelosi's visit to Taiwan.
Right, Mr. Ting, if you could just hold on, because we are also getting a reaction from the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, over this particular visit. Let's listen to what he said.
First, the Speaker will make her own decisions about whether or not to visit Taiwan. Congress is an independent, co-equal branch of government. The decision is entirely the Speaker's. What I can say is this. This is very much precedent in the sense that previous speakers visited Taiwan. Many members of Congress go to Taiwan, including this year. And so if the Speaker does decide to visit and China tries to create some kind of crisis or otherwise escalate tensions, that would be entirely on Beijing. We are looking for them, in the event she decides to visit, to act responsibly and not to engage in any escalation going forward. With regard.
Let me go across to Ms. Ting Ting once again. Ms. Ting Ting, you of course spoke to us about the reaction on the ground in Taiwan, but is there also a sense of nervousness, perhaps even apprehension at the kind of muscle flexing that we're witnessing from the Chinese about this impending visit? What's the reaction to that?
Okay, I would say that the Taiwanese the official stance is that we are ready, and there is actually a very high degree of military combat readiness that we are talking about. So I'll just cite some examples. From what we know as a military correspondent covering in Taiwan, we actually filmed fighter jet loading up with live ammunition, taking off from the air bases today in Taiwan. And what we know is that Reuters actually reported that there's a lot of PLA jets that actually flew very close to the median line at the Taiwan Strait. And the Taiwanese side also reacted accordingly, but they didn't mention how they do it, but we believe it's a scramble, and there's a very high attention, high alert. And what we know is that currently the military is also, let me just do this right. Okay, so what they did is that they raised its alert level to strengthening combat readiness. And the dates are starting from today, the 2nd of August, all the way until the 4th of August at 12 noon. So, Taiwan has actually just ended this annual military exercise last week. We call it the Han Guang exercise. So it's a 5-day, 4-night exercise where it's like full-fledged military drills across the island around all places, be it the naval exercise, aerial, or on land exercise across all the Army, Navy, and Air Force. But look, 1 week on with this potential happening of Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, we are now seeing that the military also upping their game, also raising their high alert. But on top of that, we are not only speaking this militarily, we are actually seeing examples of actual internet attacks from we are not sure from who, but what I know is that the Taiwanese presidential office has actually confirmed just like half an hour ago that at around 5:15 p.m. local time, the presidential office website was actually hit by an overseas DDoS attack. The attack traffic was 200 times that of a normal day. So it caused the official presidential office website to be down for 20 minutes. So the spokesperson actually stressed that they will continue to strengthen their monitoring to ensure the security and the stable operation of key infrastructure. So this is actually what's happening in Taiwan right now.
And one final question, Ms. Ting Ting. Now, when Newt Gingrich visited Taiwan as the House Speaker more than 25 years ago, we're talking about 1997, he made some very strong comments and pledged American assistance to Taiwan, and also the fact that America would defend Taiwan's territorial integrity and sovereignty in the event of a Chinese aggression. Many would say that the dynamics as far as the US and China are concerned in terms of military ties has changed significantly over the last 25 years. What do you expect Nancy Pelosi to be saying when she arrives in Taipei?
I mean, if Pelosi do come to Taipei, we expect her not to only meet with President Tsai, but there are also rumors, or actually the expectation that she might. Okay, I'm not very certain here right now because her itinerary is still very dynamic. It's getting very fluid. We have no official confirmation. But if she does make a public statement, no doubt there will be towards the lines of maybe voicing her support for a democratic, Taiwan is democratic, for voicing on democracy, But we are seeing like how the US, especially how like what you add earlier on how Secretary Blinken also mentioned, and we're also looking at how Kirby also mentioned that it is not a new thing. It is not. There are precedents that previous the head of House did visit Taiwan. So now it is just a repetition. There's nothing new. It is
absolutely. Ms. Ting Ting, thank you so much for your perspective. A very enriching perspective on the impending visit of Nancy Pelosi, the U.S. Speaker of the House of Representatives, to Taipei. We'll see how that pans out. Many thanks for joining us on the broadcast. Over to Swati Joshi for more.
As more links unearthed in the SSC scam probe, public outrage against former West Bengal minister grows. A woman threw her slipper at Partha and remained unapologetic for her act. ED has so far raided 7 locations in Kolkata and adjoining areas in connection with the teachers' recruitment scam investigation. These include 5 residences in Kolkata belonging to Arpita Mukherjee. ED recovered 3 diaries which have details of money transactions from Arpita Mukherjee's residence in Kolkata. Post raids at her residence, Arpita Mukherjee continues to defend herself, claiming that the seized money does not belong to her and was kept there in her absence. West Bengal leader of opposition Suvendu Adhikari met Union Home Minister Amit Shah and submitted a list of 100 names allegedly involved in the scam. Bengal BJP unit chief Sukanta Majumdar said the chappal attack on Partha reflects public anger against the ruling TMC Sarkar. The BJP vowed to expose the alleged corruption of Mamata government. Arrested West Bengal Minister Partha Chatterjee has been non-cooperative with sleuths of the ED as he has not replied to most of their questions in connection with the probe into a school job scam and officer of the Central Agency said. A day after Rahul Gandhi accused Modi government of using agencies to silence critics, ED raids Herald house in National Herald case. Sources say the probe agency is establishing trail of funds. Central agency raided a total of 12 locations in the National Herald case probe. The raids come less than a week after ED grilled Congress chief Sonia Gandhi. Post-ED raid at the Herald House, Congress workers staged protest outside Herald House. Coming out in support of Rahul Gandhi, NCP MP Supriya Sule accused the BJP government of misusing probe agencies to harass the opposition leaders. ED intensifies crackdown in the Patra Chawl scam case with summons to more suspects and launching raids at 2 more locations. Probe into Karnataka BJP worker Praveen's murder case gathers pace. Dakshin Kannada police today arrested 2 more people while cops are on lookout for 4 more accused. The Culture Ministry will organize a Tiranga bike rally for MPs from Red Fort to Parliament tomorrow morning. Union Minister Prahlad Joshi appealed to members of all political parties to attend and promote the Tiranga rally. Nigerian national living in Delhi tests positive for monkeypox. This is the 3rd monkeypox case in the national capital. A 30-year-old man who came to Kerala from UAE last month has tested positive for monkeypox, making him the 5th case of the infection from the southern state. Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia addressed the Rajya Sabha over rising cases of monkeypox. The Union Minister told the House that India is well prepared to handle the infectious disease and is taking important steps to curb the spread. The first patient who was detected with monkeypox in Delhi has successfully recovered in a span of 25 days. He has been discharged as well as all symptoms have waned away. Union Minister of Parliamentary Affairs Prahlad Joshi said that BJP will hold a crucial meeting on 5th of August on the upcoming vice presidential post. Amid Patra Chawl in Karnataka, Congress camp, 3rd name emerges for CM candidate. Veerappa Moily has openly backed Senior Patil for the post. Aam Aadmi Party has released its first list of 10 candidates for the Gujarat Assembly elections. Elections will take place across 111 constituencies later this year. AAP, which registered a thumping victory in the recently concluded Punjab elections, is now eyeing a strong base in the western state. LG Daljit Singh, Lieutenant General Daljit Singh, Director General of Medical Services, has been appointed as an honorary surgeon to the President of India. A case has been registered against the manager of Kanpur's Florets International School for hurting religious sentiments in the matter of teaching Kalma in prayer meeting. After the preliminary investigation of the police, the DM had called for a report from the ACM and BSA. Jharkhand Assembly Speaker Rabindranath Mahato suspended 4 legislators of the BJP camp till August 4th for unruly behavior in the House. The government is taking action against dubious digital loan apps, including those originating from outside the country and also Indians who help in setting them up, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman informed Rajya Sabha. UP government sources said that senior SP leader Ram Gopal Yadav's meeting with CM Yogi Adityanath was to shield SP leaders Jogendra Yadav and Rameshwar Yadav. They have about 80 cases of land grab on them. Workers of Uddhav Thackeray camp and Shinde camp clash after CM Shinde's picture was removed from a Shiv Sena office. Shinde camp supporters again put up his picture. Income tax officials conducting raids in 40 places in Tamil Nadu. Film producers Kalaipuli S. Thanu and S.R. Prabhu are among those who have been raided. Newly appointed Delhi Police Commissioner Sanjay Arora met Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday, a day after he took charge of the force. Oil prices declined by 289 to 51,877 per 10 grams in the national capital, whereas silver fell sharply by 841 rupees. India reports more than 13,000 new COVID cases with 27 deaths in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate stands at 98.49%. The ISO certified Sadar Hospital in Gopalganj district of Bihar was flooded. Emergency ward was filled with water in the hospital due to rains. Meanwhile, patients and their families are forced to undergo treatment between the doctors' chambers. Suspected terrorist threw a grenade at a police post in the Gul area of Ramban district in Jammu and Kashmir. However, there were no injuries or damage to property as the grenade fell short of the target and exploded near the police post. Different types of drugs including heroin and morphine worth 15 crore rupees have been seized and 3 people were arrested from Karbi Anglong district of Assam. The Indian Coast Guard and the West Bengal fishermen hoisted the Indian tricolour in the middle of Bay of Bengal. It was done as part of the Har Ghar Tiranga movement to celebrate Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. NH10 highway, which connects Siliguri to Gangtok and Kalimpong, was blocked at Birik Dara due to the landslide in the area. The Rouse Avenue Court of Delhi has sought the response of the CBI on a bail plea of Ajay Ramesh Navandar, allegedly an aide of gangster Daud Ibrahim's close associate Chota Shakil, recently arrested in connection with an alleged bank fraud of 34,615 crore rupees by DHFL. Following incessant rains in the southern state, IMD has issued a red alert for 7 districts of Kerala. The red alert has been issued for Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam, among other districts. 6 people have been arrested in Fazil murder case. According to the police report, all the accused belong to Suhash Shetty gang, and the further investigation will reveal motive of the murder. Chennai will have an airport at Parandur at an estimated cost of 20,000 crore rupees. This, along with the existing Meenambakkam airport, will function simultaneously. The United States killed Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in a precision strike in Kabul, the Afghanistan capital. After big success in war against terror, United States President Joe Biden said that now justice has been delivered. Cleanse on Pakistan's likely involvement in shielding Zawahiri. The Al-Qaeda chief was hiding in a house owned by aide of Pak-backed Haqqani Network's top boss, claims report. Pakistan's Election Commission ruled that former Prime Minister Imran Khan's party had received illegal funds. United States has accused Russia of using Ukraine's biggest nuclear power plant as a nuclear shield by stationing Russian troops there. US crypto firm Nomad has been hit by a $190 million theft. The incident is being investigated. Several Chinese warplanes flew close to the median line dividing the Taiwan Strait ahead of US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit. 4 US warships, including an aircraft carrier, were positioned in waters east of Taiwan. This after China said that the United States will pay the price if House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visits Taiwan during her Asia trip. South Korea's consumer inflation sped up to an almost 24-year high in July. India will extend an additional $100 million line of credit to the Maldives. Moving on now to the big story that we are continuously tracking, Patra Chawl Gate. 2 days after arresting Shiv Sena MP Sanjay Raut for the Patra Chawl land scam, the Enforcement Directorate is today conducting fresh raids at 2 locations linked to the jailed MP. But even as the crackdown continues, let's for a moment take a step back from the prosecution and focus on the persecution. This case is not just about Sanjay Raut or the Enforcement Directorate or the BJP. It is about 672 families from the Patra Chawl who were to be rehabilitated in flats to be built by Mahada, the Maharashtra Housing Development Authority, and Guru Ashish Constructions, except that those flats were never built. Instead, that land was given to private builders who made private housing societies on it and sold it to private individuals. 14 years later, all they have are broken dreams, debts and destitution.
ये सब 2008 में एक ट्राईपार्टी एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और ये पहला एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और वो अभी तक वो पूरा नहीं हुआ है. पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है लेकिन उसको कुछ सक्सेस हुआ नहीं और लोग 5 साल से हमें भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है. 5 साल से काम बंद था और आज हम लोग भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है. वो सबसे बड़ा परेशानी वही है हमारी आज.
ऐसा है कि पहले हम लोग हमारी पहले की कमेटी पे डिपेंड रहा करते थे कि वो कमेटी कुछ तो करेगी, लेकिन जब पता चला कि भाई ये कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, जहाँ तक कि वो बिल्डर को टर्मिनेट करने का था, एक लेटर तक नहीं दिया भाड़ा में उन्होंने, ना कहीं किसी के बारे में कि भाई इन पे अन्याय और इनको भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है. तो उसके बाद में हमने लड़ाई थोड़ी संघर्ष तीव्र कर लिया. हमने उपोषण किया, 2 बार म्हाड़ा पे मोर्चा लेके गए थे हम लोग. एक बार हमने उपोषण किया तो देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब आए थे. वेरी इमीडिएटली उद्धव साहब का भी फोन आया कि भाई आप ये उपोषण पीछे लो, मेरी सरकार है, मैं आपको न्याय दिला दूंगा. उसके बाद कोर्ट कचहरी तो रेगुलर रहा करता था जी. और ईओडब्ल्यू में भी कंप्लेंट हमने की थी. नई कमेटी ने तो बहुत तकलीफ दी थी हम लोगों को. सही बात है. उसके बाद चुनाव हुआ. चुनाव में हम लोग हमारे 19 के 19 पैनल चुन के आए.
मारा बोलते आज मिलेगा, वो सरकार बोलते आज मिलेगा. कभी मिलेगा? मिलने के बाद कितना लोग मारा रूम करके, फिर रूम तो नहीं मिला. अभी भी बोलते है रूम देंगे, भाड़ा देंगे. कभी देंगे? हम लोग मरने के बाद देंगे. अगर भाड़ा टाइम पे नहीं जाता है तो वो लोग बोलता है रूम खाली करो. आज खाया कल का इतना ये होता है कि कल कैसा पकाएंगे, क्या पकाएंगे। अभी मेरे ऊपर 2 लाख रुपए का ऊपर कर्जा हुआ है, मैं किधर से दूँ? उसको बोलो, जिसने हमारा घर लिया है उसको बोलो हम लोग को झेर ला के दो, हम खत्म करेंगे खेल। आज देंगे, कल देंगे, कभी मरने के बाद हमारा रूम देंगे हमको। कितना लोग तो मेरा बाजू वाला मर गया रूम में।
The charge is that money from this sale went to Sanjay Raut's close aide Praveen Raut, who then routed it to Sanjay Raut through various favors. The Enforcement Directorate claims that Praveen Raut, a close associate of Sanjay Raut and other directors of Guru Ashish Constructions, misled Mhada and sold the land to 9 private developers, collecting almost 900 crore rupees without constructing either the rehab portion for the 672 displaced tenants or the Mahada portion. Now, as Shiv Sena led by Uddhav Thackeray and its allies try to defend Raut by calling Enforcement Directorate crackdown political vendetta, with left in the lurch, locals and BJP ask, has politics turned netas blind to poor people's pain?
Don't try to, just divert the issues. You have an issue. Let the inquiry go on. We never said, Congress never objected. Only Congress is saying, let it not be a political vendetta. We are very clear in our mind, right? So, they should get their justice, no doubt about it. As a Mumbai president, yes, I am with them. But at the same time, why don't you talk about 100 crore people, 140 crore people are staying in this country. Their issue we are raising. Poor people issues we are raising.
All right, let's open this up and look. Let's go across to our guests on the panel. We have Shaina NC, BJP spokesperson, Varun Singh, senior journalist, Yogi Gade, Shiv Sena leader, and Meeta Chakrabarti, political analyst. I want to first begin with Mr. Gade. Mr. Gade, do you have answers to the questions that are being asked by these families, 672 families, their dreams broken, looted, cheated? Any answers?
Firstly, any corrupt netas from any political parties, if there is corruption, there needs to be a crackdown on it. Secondly, why is the ED notices served only to opposition parties? Because this is dangerous for the democracy. If you go to see, I quote to you, there is a BJP MP from Sangli who last year said, I don't need to fear the ED because I am in the BJP. There is also one former Congress leader who has entered into BJP, a big neta. He also said last year, it's good I joined the BJP. I get sound sleep because I have joined the BJP. So this is a big message going around in the country. If you're in the opposition party, then only you will.
Mr. Gade, aren't you contradicting yourself? On one hand, you say whoever indulges in corruption should be punished. On the other hand, you're saying selectively only leaders of the opposition are being targeted. But I'm not asking you about Mr. Sanjay Raut or your allegations against the BJP or even, in fact, the agency. I'm talking about these families who have been cheated. Corruption definitely has happened.
Yes, these families need to get justice, and yes, the the law will take its course. And if you go to see one more point, which is very important, ma'am, if you allow me to talk, is why is it that when a political leader enters the BJP, he is pure of his whatever ED charges he's got and all. Now also there are some MLAs who have joined the BJP faction in the government. They have been served ED notices. So there is nothing happening to them after they have joined the BJP. So why is it selective? My point is only that it should not be selective. Any person
should an individual be let off without an inquiry, without an investigation, just because in today's times they belong to a party which is in opposition? Is that the logic? Is that the argument?
No. See, it should be from every party. Why is it that only the opposition parties
in this particular case? Okay, in this particular case, Sanjay Raut is under the lens.
Yes.
So let the investigation complete. Let the investigation take place. Instead of drawing conclusions that this is vendetta, that he is being targeted, let the agencies reach a conclusion.
Yes, we cannot have an open court on the news media. And
absolutely.
There is a law in our country.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm saying let the ED reach a conclusion. That's why I'm saying let ED reach a conclusion. Let ED take the matter to the court. Shaina NC, The allegation continues against the BJP that this is selective targeting of leaders in the opposition, and Mr. Raut is a victim of that.
So let's go back to when this scam actually opened. It was 2008. It was in 2014 that they got active evidence. It is now when there is substantive evidence based on proof that there has been a 1,034 crore scam. Now, if we actually look at this objectively, what is the Enforcement Directorate doing? It's taking action against perpetrators of crime who have resorted to money laundering, who have resorted to all kinds of practices, where 672 tenants, a lot of whom you have shown have even lost lives just fighting for what they believe is promised flats, which were not delivered. The redevelopment project, where you had fraudulent builders like HDILs in colludes with politicians. I only want to ask one question. Is anybody above the law? If they're not, please let the honorable courts decide, let the investigative agencies decide what is the course of correction and what is the course of action. For all those who say that this is BJP, I only want to say the Enforcement Directorate has recovered thousands of crores in this past time, where there have been multiple cases which have been against the corrupt, against the people who are into money laundering, against the people who believe that they are in positions of power and are insulated and nobody will touch them. So this is a very positive signal in the right direction. Without sitting on judgment as to what happened, whether it was Praveen Raut, Sanjay Raut, loans being given back and forth, properties being bought, I don't think we need to sit on judgment. Let the honest truth come out. Nobody is going to be a victim, but nobody is going to be politically
somebody has defrauded these families, 672 families. I want to bring in senior journalist Varun Singh as well. Varun Singh, houses clearly have not been built for the families. The rent that was supposed to be paid to them also stopped in 2015. At this point of time, of course, apart from the political blame game, the focus entirely needs to be on the grievance of these families.
Absolutely. And as we have a session of spokespersons, I would like to publicly thank the then social leader, Rabindra Vaikar, who was a Minister of State Housing in Devendra Fadnavis government, who actually ordered an investigation, a one-member investigation team comprising of then Housing Secretary Shrikant Singh, who carried out an investigation after him, Sanjay Kumar, who became the Housing Secretary. And in 2017, April, he submitted a report clearly stating that there is a problem, there is a scam that has happened in Patra Chawl, and after that the investigations went ahead. EOW ED in 2018, the case was registered, and that is when Sanjay Raut, next with Praveen Raut, started stumbling out of this whole thing. There is always this thing that the EDs attacking only leaders from the opposition. I am not a BJP spokesperson, but let me tell you, even BJP leader in November, as late as November 2020, has been arrested from Surat in Gujarat. His name is TVS Sharma. The other fellow has been arrested in October 2021. He is D.R. Ramesh. He is a close aide of Yadurappa. So the ED is acting against everyone.
All right.
And just one small thing, Sati. ED, CBI and IT are independent agencies. Let them work. And if you are not corrupt, if you have not done any wrong, then don't be scared of it. These are not my words. These are Sanjay Raut's words when notices were served to Raj Thackeray in 2018-19. These are not my words.
All right. Varun Singh, stay on. I want to bring in Meeta Chakrabarti as well. Meeta Chakrabarti, it's very important here to highlight the plight of these families. And also, the party that always talks about Marathi Asmita and fighting for the cause of Marathi Asmita, shouldn't that party today actually be demanding answers and in public take a stand that yes, you need to figure out who really is responsible for this, instead of playing this whole political vendetta blame game?
Okay, good evening, and some uninterrupted time, please. First of all, in recent times, and I'm just placing some hardcore data, there had been a 27 times increase in the number of cases registered under ED in the past 8 years. However, the conviction rate remains less than 1%. It is 0.5%. So my first concern is that how come that ED interrogations are happening There are more than 3,000 raids that have been conducted. But are these raids being conducted only to create a political narrative, a political perception in the media, or are they actually going to be held accountable to bring it to a logical conclusion? And would the guilty be actually booked and arrested? My second query is, why are likes of Shubhendu Adhikari, Mukul Roy, Hemant Biswa Sharma, Shubhendu Adhikari was seen accepting money on camera? How come there is not a charge sheet that has been filed in Sharoda Naroda scam against Shubhendu Adhikari, who stands as a tall BJP leader?
Again,
why is it seen that
we are indulging in political blame game? I'm asking a very simple question. Haven't these families been defrauded? Weren't they promised that houses will be built for them? What happened to that? That is my plain and simple question. But what we are witnessing at this point of time is that the entire focus has been taken away from that, and the focus is on the political blame game, which continues. But stay on with us. I think we once again need to listen to those families. Let's play out those reactions.
ये सब 2008 में एक ट्राईपार्टी एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और ये पहला एग्रीमेंट हुआ है और वो अभी तक वो पूरा नहीं हुआ है। पहली बार ऐसा हुआ है लेकिन उसको कुछ सक्सेस हुआ नहीं और लोग 5 साल से हमें भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है। 5 साल से काम बंद था और आज हम लोग भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है। वो हम सबसे बड़ा परेशानी वही है हमारी आज।
ऐसा है कि पहले हम लोग हमारी पहले की कमेटी पे डिपेंड रहा करते थे कि वो कमेटी कुछ तो करेगी, लेकिन जब पता चला कि भाई ये कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, जहाँ तक कि वो बिल्डर को टर्मिनेट करने का था, एक लेटर तक नहीं दिया भाड़ा में उन्होंने, ना कहीं किसी के बारे में कि भाई इन पे अन्याय हो रहा है, इनको भाड़ा नहीं मिल रहा है। तो उसके बाद में हमने लड़ाई थोड़ी संघर्ष तीव्र कर लिया। हमने उपोषण किया, 2 बार म्हाड़ा पे मोर्चा लेके गए थे हम लोग। एक बार हमने उपोषण किया तो देवेंद्र फडणवीस साहब आए थे, वेरी इमीडिएटली उद्धव साहब का भी फोन आया कि भाई आप ये उपोषण पीछे लो, मेरी सरकार है, मैं आपको न्याय दिला दूंगा। उसके बाद कोर्ट कचहरी तो रेगुलर रहा करता था जी। और ईओडब्ल्यू में भी कंप्लेंट हमने की थी। नई कमेटी ने तो बहुत तकलीफ दी थी हम लोगों को, सही बात है। उसके बाद चुनाव हुआ, चुनाव में हम लोग हमारे 19 के 19 पैनल चुन के आए।
मारा बोलते आज मिलेगा, वो सरकार बोलते आज मिलेगा, कभी मिलेगा, मिलने का बाद कितना लोग मरा रूम करके, फिर रूम तो नहीं मिला। अभी भी बोलते हैं रूम देंगे, भाड़ा देंगे, कभी देंगे, हम लोग मरने के बाद देंगे। अगर भाड़ा
मिस्टर गड़े, कब मिलेगा घर? That is the question that these people are asking. It's been 14 years. The wait continues. In fact, one of them also said कि उद्धव सरकार ने फोन किया था और उद्धव सरकार की तरफ से कहा गया था कि आप ये हंगर स्ट्राइक वापस लीजिए, justice will be done. Then how is it political vendetta today? What about these families, sir?
Yes, these families need justice definitely, and as you said, the case has been registered and the law will take its course. And if you allow, as you have invited us on your show to put our views, so if you allow, can I continue ahead?
Absolutely. I have given you more time than the other panelists. Please go ahead. Please go ahead now, Mr. Gade, if you can hear me.
Hello. Yes, now I can. Sorry, there was a connection problem.
All right, go ahead.
I was saying, as you have invited us on the show, so
I've heard that, sir, and I said I've given you more time than other panelists.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes. So definitely, as the BJP, Ms. Shine also said, the courts, the law will decide what is action to be taken against this. But my only concern is, why is it only the opposition leaders are being served the ED notices? If you go to see in such, and the conviction rate is very low. It is very dangerous for the democracy.
Haven't these families been waiting for 14 years, sir?
Yes, but if you go to see, there are so many leaders who have been served ED notices, and once they
you
go
also
to
want to find out who defrauded them. Don't you want the investigation? Don't you want the guilty, the culprits to be punished?
Yes, the culprits should be punished.
Absolutely. Then
Yes,
let the investigations conclude.
Let the investigations go on.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Instead of building narratives.
Let me finish at least. The investigation should go on. If the culprits should be punished, yes. And also, if we want to have a healthy democracy, we should not hide the politicians. If they enter the ruling party, if they enter the BJP, then they are rid of the sins. This is also wrong, because for
all right, that's all the time I have. That's all the time I have. As far as these families are concerned, it's been 14 years. They are still waiting. Houses were promised to them, but they were ultimately defrauded. Now, when the investigation has picked up pace, there are narratives of this being a political vendetta. BJP and Shiv Sena blaming each other for what really is happening on ground. Thank you very much, gentlemen, Hannah NC and Meeta Chakrabarti for joining us.
The fact of the matter is, whether it is imported inflation, whether it is tinkering of GST for a longer period, the fact is that the burden is on the common man. And the common man, frankly, doesn't really care about what's happening in the United States or the UK or Russia or Ukraine. They're worried about their day-to-day living and the per capita incomes where they are in India. The pressure is as much, magnified on common people in this country than they are abroad. And of course, you have social security systems which exist abroad, which don't exist in India. So I come back to asking you the same question. Is the government really being rather hard-hearted when it looks at these issues? After all, running a country of the kind that India is, with poor middle classes, lower middle classes forming the bulk of the population, do you think the government is doing enough to cushion the impact on these classes of people?
So let me say that as a policy maker, one has to make various trade-offs. So first of all, let me be clear that the government is fully cognizant of the spike in inflation. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen the measures we have taken, including the Reserve Bank tightening monetary policy. So clearly, the tightening of monetary policy is one response to bringing down inflation. But do remember that this is a trade-off, because if you do tighten monetary policy too fast, too quickly, yes, it will bring down inflation, but then it will slow down growth, it will slow down incomes and so on and so forth. So there is a balancing act that has to be done. Ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to increase as far as possible the trajectory of welfare and real incomes. And in that context, we have to trade off between growth and inflation. So the trade-off that we are making right now is, rather than tighten so harsh that growth slows down, we are tightening somewhat, but not so much that growth slows down too much. So keeping GDP growth going, create jobs, which is an important question, which I hope we will come to later on. These are issues that are also foremost in our mind. So given this balance we have done, I think the Reserve Bank's response is the correct one for this point in time.
Well, Sanjeev Sanyal, governments are not necessarily only policy makers. They are also political entities, and you understand politics as much as anybody else. I want to ask you a simple, straightforward question that is...
No. I cannot answer any questions on politics. I'm a policy maker. So if there are political questions, I'm afraid I will simply not be in a position to answer them.
Well, that disclaimer taken on board, but I'm still asking you the question that when policy makers within the government do not have enough measures that solve problems of the common people of India, they end up being called insensitive and arrogant because they're winning elections anyway. They don't really need to bother about the common man. That is the question that often comes up. How do you think the government can respond to that?
As I said right in the beginning, I'm not a politician, and winning or not winning elections is a concern of the political leadership. I can tell you the key here is that as a policymaker, I need to maintain macroeconomic stability in an environment where clearly there are serious threats to the rest of the world. You've already seen neighboring countries like Sri Lanka going into vicious cycles on their macroeconomic management. We are seeing serious issues with inflation in Europe, in US. These are turbulent times. So for me, very important that in these turbulent times, I keep a steady ship. Yes, I have to make sure that inflation doesn't spiral up. That is certainly a concern. It is a concern to the average man, and it is a concern to me personally as well. I mean, I buy the same vegetables and fuel you do. At the same time, do remember that I have to also make sure that growth keeps going, because we are...
The global face of terror, Ayman al-Zawahiri, has been killed. The world today woke up to the news that Osama bin Laden's right hand and successor, the head of terrorist organization Al-Qaeda, al-Zawahiri, was eliminated by US. In fact, the US President Joe Biden himself confirmed the news. This man, al-Zawahiri, was always found joined at the hip with Osama bin Laden. Zawahiri was killed in Kabul by a Hellfire missile unleashed from a drone. Zawahiri was standing in the balcony of his safe house when the missile struck it. There were other members of Zawahiri's family present in the house, but no collateral damage was reported in the airstrike. The strike, however, brings focus back to the terror patronage provided by Taliban in Pakistan and the eerie similarities between the circumstances of bin Laden and Zawahiri's eliminations. Let's go across to Pranesh for more information on the location of the safe house and the patronage that was provided.
Through some pictures and visual representation, Swati, we have tried to explain why Pakistan and Taliban today are the biggest terror patrons. Who are we talking about? We are talking about Osama's deputy, who then took over the mantle of Al-Qaeda, became its head, Ayman al-Zawahiri, the face of Islamist terror, dreaded terrorist carrying a bounty of 25 million US dollars. Look where he was found, just 2.5 kilometers from where the Taliban runs the Afghanistan, from the presidential palace in Kabul. The distance from the presidential palace to the safe house where Zawahiri was found and smoked out from is only 2.5 kilometers, and this takes us back to Abbottabad, the garrison town in the heart of Pakistan that houses the GHQ, the general headquarters, which is the Pak Army headquarters. And what was the distance there from the house where Osama bin Laden was driven by the Pak establishment, the deep state, to the Pakistani army headquarters? Look at the distance. It's not even a kilometer, less than that, 800 meters to be precise. So the Pak Taliban hand to sheltering Islamist terror is clear. Look at the two images. Presidential palace in Kabul is just 2.5 kilometers from where the Taliban had put up Ayman al-Zawahiri. And in Pakistan, Osama bin Laden was sheltered right next to the GHQ, the Pak Army headquarters. The distance, Swati, only 800 meters.
Absolutely. Let's also take a look at why is it important for India. Zawahiri's elimination is very significant since he always propagated Hindu phobia and spewed venom against India. He instigated Muslims in India to pick up arms and fight for the cause. He also slammed the central government after the abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir and called it a bid to annex Kashmir. Zawahiri also tried to spread hate and terror in India during the hijab row.
After relentlessly seeking Zawahiri for years under Presidents Bush, Obama, and Trump, our intelligence community located Zawahiri earlier this year. He had moved to downtown Kabul to reunite with members of his immediate family. This mission was carefully planned, rigorously minimized the risk of harm to other civilians. And 1 week ago, after being advised that the conditions were optimal, I gave the final approval to go get him. And the mission was a success. None of his family members were hurt, and there were no civilian casualties. Now we have eliminated the emir of Al-Qaeda. My administration will continue to vigilantly monitor and address threats from Al-Qaeda, no matter where they emanate from.
It's just strange credulity to believe that nobody in the Taliban government had any idea but that al-Zawahiri was there. He's a fairly recognizable figure. Probably can't trust the Taliban to do this work for us. However, it shows that the U.S. capability of taking out a terrorist leader in the capital of the Taliban-run Afghanistan is certainly valid. I mean, so we have the capability of doing that. This is hard work. I mean, some terrorist leaders, some criminals go in hiding for decades, and it takes a long time to, find them and bring them to justice, whether it's capturing them and trying them or whether it's executing them in this fashion.
बड़ी खबर है और बिन लादेन के बाद ये दूसरी बड़ी उपलब्धि अमेरिका को मिली। अल-जवाहिरी जो कि बहुत ही ख़तरनाक आतंकवादी अल-कायदा के चीफ थे और ये काफ़ी समय से पाकिस्तान और अफ़गानिस्तान के बीच में आना जाना इनका बना हुआ था। पाकिस्तान में ही रहते थे। पाकिस्तान की ऊपर अल-कायदा के ऊपर के कंट्रोल जो बेसिकली है अल-कायदा पे वो पाकिस्तान का है और पाकिस्तान के उनके साथ काफ़ी घनिष्ठ संबंध है। अफगानिस्तान को इन आतंकवादी संगठनों ने, चाहे वो तालिबान हो या अल-कायदा हो, इन्हीं ने बिल्कुल तबाह और बर्बाद किया है। इस तरह से मैं समझता हूँ कि ये एक बड़ा ऑपरेशन था और काफ़ी डेलिकेट था।
Now viewers, let's take a look at the planning to kill one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks. This had been going on for months. A small-scale model of Zawahiri's safe house constructed by Intel officials was placed inside the White House Situation Room for Biden to examine. However, Biden's instructions were clear. No civilians should be killed in the Afghan capital, not even the terrorist family members. So on July 25th, went over the granular details including the layout of the house, how the strike could affect it and any other options that could minimize civilian casualties. Finally, a precise tailor-made airstrike was launched on Sunday that smoked out Ayman al-Zawahiri.
Well, the United States of America used the Hellfire R-9X missiles to eliminate Zawahiri. Hellfire missiles are air-to-ground laser-guided subsonic missiles with significant anti-tank capacity. Hellfire R-9X uses pop-out sword blades to kill targets with minimal collateral damage. These missiles are especially designed for targeted killings. The R-9X is also called the Ninja Bomb and it weighs about 45 kg. The range of these missiles varies from 500 meters to 11 kilometers. US is reported to have used this weapon previously in Syria to kill Qasem Soleimani in 2020.
And Swati, as we speak, we have more breaking inputs coming in. India is on red alert after the strike on Zawahiri. Intelligence agencies are on the highest level of alert. Executive editor Nikunj Garg now joining us with explosive and exclusive inputs. Nikunj, the biggest worry is the disenchantment in the Qaeda cadre. The agencies believe that they could shift their allegiance and base to ISIS.
Pranesh, yes, that is one part of the internal reading of the Indian agencies as far as how this massive strike, particularly massive to the morale and the capabilities also, functionality not so much, but the overall morale and the capabilities so much of Al-Qaeda has a bearing on India. Now the agencies quite clearly believe that this certainly will need some kind of shift in the behavior of the cadre that have been committed to Al-Qaeda. This is not going to be some kind of tectonic shift. Remember, a terrorist is a terrorist, whether he operates under the banner of the Al-Qaeda in Indian subcontinent or Al-Qaeda in general, a terrorist remains a terrorist. But as far as the moral support is concerned, as far as the morale is concerned, and as far as the capabilities of what the latest trend being observed in Jammu and Kashmir, particularly with worry, supply of certain kind of weaponry, particularly small personal weapons from Afghanistan into Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, that kind of wherewithal is likely to be impacted. And that is something that India thinks it can take advantage of. However, if the desperation increases amongst the cadre of Al-Qaeda, some kind of spectacular strikes can also be in the offing, is what the agencies suspect, Swati.
Right. Nikunj, thank you very much for putting things into perspective. Let us open this up and go across to our guests. We are joined by Colonel Lawrence Sellin, US Army veteran. We have Dr. John Harrison, terrorism and homeland security expert, and David Lyon, author. Good evening to all of you. Colonel Lawrence Sellin, this massive strike led to the elimination of the global face of terror, Ayman al-Zawahiri. But is this also one of the biggest concerns of US at this point of time, that this could bring together terror organizations?
Well, yes, indeed. I think the secondary threat coming out of both Pakistan and Afghanistan is the Islamic State. There was a report brought out by the United Nations in June, which stated that Al-Qaeda was moving freely and acting independently within Afghanistan. So this may have precipitated the action by the American administration to take out Zawahiri and eliminate that potential threat, the expansion of Al-Qaeda within Afghanistan.
Dr. John Harrison, could you please give us the inside story? Reports suggest that this has been on for the last 3 months. The planning was on. It was launched the moment President Biden said, go get them.
It seems to be that seems to be the case, that this is not an operation that would be able to be spun up very quickly, and particularly with the mission and the mandate that the president provided that said we're going to try to limit, if not totally eliminate, collateral damage or other civilian casualties. And that's very difficult to do in a major urban area. Reports out of the United States have been suggesting that there was a CIA team on the ground that was able to identify the target both before and afterwards, plus aerial surveillance. All of this is part of the U.S. strategy that's called Enduring Sentinel. And this is what the White House has called sort of over-the-horizon strikes, which means that the United States will not have forces on the ground, so to speak, to be able to go after targets like this. But they will have the capability of striking when and if required. And I think that's very important. And it, not only does it lighten the American footprint on the ground, but it also makes it much more difficult for terrorists to be able to operate when they may not themselves be quite sure if they have been identified. It certainly limits what the U.S. can do, but it gives it a power where it will not be likely that there will be increasing public disquiet with U.S. actions. The Hearts and Minds campaign will be very important here because the public will not be seeing a large American presence and also limiting of civilian casualties. And it makes it much easier then to be able to strike leaders in the future.
Let's also talk about the Ninja bomb, the weapon used R9X, the Hellfire missile. Mr. Leon, if you could throw more light on that.
The Colonel will probably be better at the weapons than I would, but the U.S. has used it about a dozen times over the last few years, and it is specifically
the tank which are untouched. I mean, it is a very specific targeted device which can, as it did on this occasion, just kill one individual. And we've seen the United States not wanting to cause civilian casualties. You'll remember that attack in retaliation to the attack on Marines at the airport who were evacuating people in August last year. America responded and they hit a car that had nothing to do with the attack itself, killing a family. And that was the last attack carried out in Afghanistan until this one last weekend. So I think President Biden didn't want to see a repeat of that kind of attack. He wanted something very accurate. He's a cautious man. He was very cautious in the room back in 2011 when he was the vice president and Osama bin Laden was killed. He was the most cautious voice then. And to get his sign off on this, I think the CIA will have needed to have really good evidence that this was Ayman al-Zawahiri. But I think the bigger picture is that this shows the real hollowness at the heart of America's deal with the Taliban when they abandoned the country and pulled out last year. That deal signed by President Trump and then agreed to by President Biden and his administration effectively handed over Afghanistan to the Taliban, giving very little in return except a vague assurance that they wouldn't allow terrorist groups to carry out attacks from Afghanistan. But as we've seen, Al-Qaeda, who do want to carry out attacks from Afghanistan, operate openly and freely. That UN report that's already been mentioned talked about their capacity to increase their propaganda in recent months to the point that they're recruiting more people than Islamic State. And I think Ayman al-Zawahiri's death will only encourage that organization to work harder for what it wants to do.
You know, I'd like to wrap up the debate quoting you again when you said hollowness of the deal between US and Taliban has been exposed. That's a very important point that you've brought to the fore. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. results in the teacher recruitment scam. The centre has stepped in now. Union Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has written to Mamata Banerjee asking to take steps to restore confidence. Let's go across to Pranesh for more on that. Yes, Pranesh.
I have the letter here on the big screen. Irregularities are demotivating the future and the people. As you are aware, education is the foundation. He starts by saying that education is the foundation for an equitable and just society and is a core essential to maximize our country's rich talent and resources. I want to come to the last paragraph, Swati, because this is where Dharmendra Pradhan is making a request to Mamata Banerjee. And look here, he says, I sincerely urge you to take necessary corrective measures to restore the confidence of people. I would like to assure you of our continuous support and highest consideration to ensure access to quality education for all children in West Bengal. And Swati, what's important that this letter from Dharmendra Pradhan has gone to Mamata Banerjee just hours after what we saw happened to ex-minister Patra Chawl. People in Bengal are now speaking out. They are angry at this teachers recruitment scam and the way cash stash was found at multiple places, which is why a woman threw a slipper at Patra Chawl. And now the centre writing to the chief minister urging that corrective steps have to be taken to inspire confidence.
Absolutely. Public outrage is growing. Also, remember, Suvendu Adhikari today met Home Minister Amit Shah. The agenda was to end corruption in West Bengal. A quick break. With that, news and updates will continue.
Most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shiv Sena.
3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಬಲಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕು ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ತುಂಬಬೇಕು ನೈತಿಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಆಗಬೇಕು ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಸಮನ್ಸ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕರ್ತರು ದೇಶಾದ್ಯಂತ ನನ್ನ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಿಂತಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನನ್ನ ಗಂಡನ ಪ್ರಾಣ ಕಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ನನ್ನ ಮಗನ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಅತ್ತೆಯ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ನೆಹರು ಮಾಡಿದ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಈ ದೇಶದ ಜನ ನಮ್ಮ ಋಣ ತೀರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಒಂದು ಸಮಾಧಾನ ಇವತ್ತು ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ 2 ಹೊತ್ತಿನ ಊಟ ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ 3-4 ತಲೆಮಾರುಗಳಿಗೆ ಆಗುವಷ್ಟನ್ನು ನಾವು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವೆ ನೆಹರು ಇಂದಿರಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಸೋನಿಯಾ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಹೆಸರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕಿಂಚತ್ತು ತ್ಯಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ತಯಾರಾಗದೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ತಿಂತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಅನ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹುಳು ಬೀಳುತ್ತೆ.
He has openly confessed, he has openly admitted. In fact, taking this cognizance, I think our agencies should book a case, should really book a case against him
and also make an enquiry, because he would be knowing who are all the beneficiaries.
As more links are coming to fore in the SSC scam probe, public outrage against former West Bengal minister growing. A woman threw a slipper at Partha and remained unapologetic for her act. ED has so far raided 7 locations in Kolkata and adjoining areas in connection with the teachers' recruitment scam investigation. ED recovered 3 diaries which have details of money transactions from Arpita Mukherjee's residence in Kolkata. Post raids at her residence, Arpita Mukherjee continues to defend herself, claiming that the seized money does not belong to her and was kept there in her absence. West Bengal leader of opposition Suvendu Adhikari met Union Home Minister Amit Shah and submitted a list of over 100 names allegedly involved in the SSC scam. Bengal BJP unit chief Sukanta Majumdar has said that Chappal attack on Patra Chatterjee reflects public anger against Mamta and her party. Arrested West Bengal Minister Patra Chatterjee has been non-cooperative with officers of the ED as he has not replied to most of their questions in connection with the probe. A day after Rahul Gandhi accused Modi government of using agencies to silence critics, ED raided Herald House in the national capital. Sources say the probe agency wants to establish trail of funds. Central agency raided at least 12 locations in the National Herald case. The raids come less than a week after ED drilled Congress chief Sonia Gandhi. Post ED raid at the Herald House, Congress workers staged protest outside Herald House. Coming out in support of Rahul Gandhi, NCP MP Supriya Sule accused the BJP of misusing probe agencies to harass opposition leaders. ED has intensified crackdown in the Patra Chawl scam case with summons to more suspects and raids at 2 more locations. Probe into Karnataka, BJP worker Praveen has gathered pace. Dakshin Kannada police today arrested 2 more people while cops are on the lookout for 4 more accused. The Culture Ministry will organize a Tiranga bike rally for MPs from Red Fort to Parliament. Union Minister Prahlad Joshi appealed to members of all political parties to attend and promote this. A Nigerian national living in Delhi has tested positive for monkeypox. This is the 3rd monkeypox case in the capital. A 30-year-old man who came to Kerala from UAE last month tested positive for monkeypox, making him the 5th case of virus from Kerala. Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya addressed Rajya Sabha over rising cases of monkeypox. Union Minister told the House that India is well prepared to handle the disease and its breakout if it happens. As India registered its 8th monkeypox case with another fresh case reported in Delhi, CEO of Serum Institute of India, Adar Poonawalla, met Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandaviya. After the meeting, Adar Poonawalla said that research and preparations are underway for a monkeypox vaccine. Union of Minister for Parliamentary Affairs has said that BJP will hold a crucial meeting on August 5th on the upcoming vice presidential polls. Amid the Patra Chawl in Karnataka, Congress 3rd name emerges for CM candidate. Virappa Moily has openly backed SR Patil for this post.
Aam Aadmi Party has released its first list of 10 candidates for the Gujarat Assembly elections. Elections will take place across all the constituencies. Later this year, Aam Aadmi Party registered a thumping win in the recently concluded Punjab elections and is now eyeing making inroads in Gujarat. Lieutenant General Daljit Singh, Director General of Medical Services, has been appointed as Honorary Surgeon to the President of India. A case has been registered against the manager of Kanpur's Florets International School for hurting religious sentiments in the matter of teaching Kalma in prayer meeting. After the preliminary investigation of the police, the DM had called for a report. Jharkhand Assembly Speaker Rabindranath Mehto suspended 4 legislators of the BJP till August 4 for unruly behaviour. The government is taking action against dubious digital loan apps, including those originating from outside the country and also Indians who helped in setting them up. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman informed the Rajya Sabha. UP government sources have said that senior SP leader Ram Gopal Yadav met with Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath in order to seek a shield for SP leaders Jogendra Yadav and Rameshwar Yadav, who have about 80 cases of land grab against them. There was a huge buzz after a meeting was held between the Rajya Sabha MP of the Samajwadi Party and UP CM. Workers of Uddhav Thackeray camp and Shinde camp clashed after CM Shinde's picture was removed from a Shiv Sena office. Shinde camp supporters again put up his picture. Income tax officials conducting raids in 40 places in Tamil Nadu. Film producers Kalaipuli, S. Thanu and S.R. Prabhu are among those who were raided. Newly appointed Delhi Police Commissioner Sanjay Arora met Union Home Minister Amit Shah on Tuesday in Parliament. Gold prices declined by 289 rupees to 51,877 per 10 grams in the national capital. Silver fell sharply by 841 rupees. India reported more than 13,000 new COVID cases with 27 deaths in the last 24 hours. The recovery rate is at 98.49%. ISO certified Sadar Hospital in Gopalganj district of Bihar was flooded in light rain. Emergency ward was filled with water. Suspected terrorist threw a grenade at a police post in the Ghoul area of Ramban district of Jammu and Kashmir. Different types of drugs including heroin and morphine worth 15 crores have been seized and 3 people were arrested from Karbi Anglong district of Assam. Indian Coast Guard and West Bengal fishermen hoisted the Indian tricolour in the middle of the Bay of Bengal as part of Har Ghar Tiranga movement. NH10 connecting Siliguri to Gangtok and Kalimpong was blocked at Birik Dara because of a landslide. A Rouse Avenue court in Delhi has sought the response of the CBI on a bail plea of Ajay Ramesh Navandar, allegedly an aide of gangster Dawood Ibrahim. Following incessant rains in southern state, IMD has issued a red alert for 7 districts of Kerala. The red alert has been issued for Thiruvananthapuram, Kollam among others. 6 more people have been arrested in the Fazil murder case. According to the police, all accused belong to the Suhas Shetty gang and further investigation will reveal the motive behind the murder. Chennai will have an airport at Parandur at an estimated cost of 20,000 crores. Along with the existing Meenambakkam airport, they will both function simultaneously. United States killed Al-Qaeda leader Ayman al-Zawahiri in a precision strike in Kabul this morning. After huge success in war against terror, United States President Joe Biden said that now justice has been delivered. Lens on Pakistan's likely hand in shielding Zawahiri, the Al-Qaeda chief was hiding in a house owned by aid of Pakistan-backed Haqqani Network's top boss. Pakistan's Election Commission has ruled that former PM Imran Khan's party had received illegal funds. US has accused Russia of using Ukraine's biggest nuclear power plant as a nuclear shield by stationing Russian troops there. US crypto firm Nomad has been hit by a $190 million theft, which is being investigated now. Several Chinese warplanes flew close to the median line dividing Taiwan Strait ahead of US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi landing in Taipei. 4 US warships, including an aircraft carrier, were positioned in waters east of Taiwan. This after China said that the US will quote-unquote pay the price if Pelosi visits Taiwan during her trip to Asia. South Korea's consumer inflation sped up to an almost 24-year high in July. India will extend an additional $100 million line of credit to the Maldives. Big political story of the day. The big story, in fact, is on the scam, where we have broken every single piece of information and kept you ahead, because ultimately the SSC, the recruitment scam that is excluded in Bengal, is not one about Patra Chawl or about any party. It is about the people who were cheated and defrauded, and it's the anger of those people that burst forth today. Even as Patra Chawl and Arpita Mukherjee were produced in hospital for a medical checkup, a woman present there hurled her slipper at Patra, the action only showing the anger and disgust of the people at the scale of corruption and graft being unearthed every week. The ED action in the SSC recruitment scam continued. After the slippergate, the lady gave voice to Bengal's Manus.
কেন জুতো মারলেন কেন আরে জুতো মারলে কিছু যেন আপনারা জানেন না হ্যাঁ জনসাধারণের কত গরিব মানুষের টাকা নিয়ে কোটি কোটি টাকা ব্ল্যাক কিনে রেখে দিয়েছেন কেন ওনাকে এসি গাড়ি চালিয়ে ওনাকে কলেজ গাড়ি দিয়ে টানতে টানতে নিয়ে আসবেন এসি গাড়ি আপনি জুতো মেরে খুশি হয়েছেন তো হ্যাঁ আরে খুশি হতে হয় জুতো যদি ওনার টাকা লাগতো থ্যাংক ইউ তা আপনি এখন খালি পায়ে যাবেন.
Now, even as the Trinamool Congress refused to comment on what happened today, the action has led the opposition to sharpen its attack on Mamata Banerjee, reiterating that her delayed action against Partha Chatterjee had done nothing to assuage people's sense of anger and hurt.
ये जो सिंडिकेट है, ओपा सिंडिकेट, इसकी मालकिन का नाम ममता बनर्जी है. शी इज द किंग पिन ऑफ द करप्शन. और आपने नेफ्यू अभिषेक बनर्जी, ही इज द डायरेक्टर ऑफ दिस सिंडिकेट. ये रुपया पार्थो जी का रुपया नहीं है, ये टीएमसी का रुपया है, ममता जी का रुपया है, उनकी भातीजा का रुपया है. ये 100 से ज्यादा कलेक्टर का नाम मैं दिया, उसमें कुछ एमएलए भी है, कुछ मंत्री भी है. 4 एमएलए का लेटर हेड पैड भी मैं जमा किया, जिन्होंने लिस्ट करके दिया था. वो तो अंदर की बात है. केवल रुपया नहीं है, 50 करोड़ रुपया नहीं है, 200 करोड़ से ज्यादा प्रॉपर्टी का अभी तक बरामद हुई है. और भी कितना है भगवान जाने, आगे आएगा. बहुत लंबा मामला है, बहुत बड़ा घपला है. तो मानी किसी का, ये तो पता चलेगा. उनका घर में है लेकिन उनको मालूम नहीं है कि रुपया किसका है. जिन्होंने देख रेख किया है, भेजा है, उनको मालूम नहीं है. ऐसा नहीं चलता है, सब मालूम है. बहुत लोग इसमें जुड़े हुए हैं, इसलिए थोड़ा समय लगेगा सच्चाई सामने आने में.
The SSC scam in Bengal, it does not end at Arpita. It does not end at Partha, but it is a scam of the TMC, for the TMC and by the TMC. It reflects the complete institutionalization of corruption and corruption of every institution under Mamata Banerjee's watch. And therefore the Chief Minister has to explain that was she ignorant about such a big corruption, or was she indulgent about such a big corruption? Because today all the evidences that I am seeing on your channel, whether it is the diary entries, whether it is the deeds that have been found with Partha and Arpita's links, whether it is the other evidence that has been discovered, it all points a finger that this scam was taking place with the knowledge, consent and collusion of much higher people in the TMC.
This public backlash came on a day when the Enforcement Directorate continued its action against Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee. Close to 9 properties were raided across Kolkata and its neighbouring areas, including 4 nail art salons which are owned by Arpita Mukherjee and several Benami flats believed to be owned by both Partha and Arpita. But unsurprisingly, today again both of them professed innocence, saying, "We don't know where the cash came from. It was kept in our absence."
আমার অনুপস্থিতিতে আমার টাকা ঢোকানো হয়েছে আমার অনুপস্থিতিতে আমার টাকা ঢোকানো হয়েছে আমার অনুপস্থিতিতে আমার টাকা ঢোকানো হয়েছে।
All right, so will Didi answer the people of her state whose anger is now very, very palpable? Joining us, Priyanka Tibrewal, spokesperson of the BJP, Rishi Bagri, political analyst, Anirban Banerjee, political analyst, Professor Monojit Mandal, political analyst. Would you like to take that question? Professor Mandal.
No, I'm not appearing as political analyst. I'm appearing as the spokesperson of the party.
Okay.
Please correct yourself.
Go on, sir.
Yeah. I mean, look at the inefficiency on the part of the ED. I mean, we have been continuously saying that ED's rate of conviction is abysmally low, despite the fact that
their rate of raids have been skyrocketing for the last 8 years.
Professor Mandal, every time when we are talking about specifics, today we are talking not about the ED. We are talking about this woman. I'm sure you heard her.
Yes.
She said today, this man ruined the future of our youth and he is roaming around in cars. I am happy to go home barefoot because I wanted to throw my slipper at him.
I'm saying.
What would you say to this woman?
This is my way of coming at the question, which I call in my cultural term deconstruction mode, right? You don't understand it properly. This is something that ED has to answer. Despite the fact that the money is found in a particular woman's house, despite the fact that the properties are in their name, they continue to deny that they have got nothing to do with it. Then what is the ED doing? That is my question with which I began.
So you think this lady is flinging her slipper at the ED?
What?
Her anger is with the ED?
I am talking. No. I am talking about the person. I am not even talking about this lady. I mean,
but
she
you
might
should,
have had anger.
because instead of talking about vendetta by the BJP or ED, it is about the voter of your state.
I'm not saying this is a vendetta by ED. I am saying that the ED is acting at the behest of BJP. I know, please, there is a marked difference between these two statements: vendetta by ED and vendetta by BJP through ED. I think the statements are.
But you think there is no corruption? If the action is vendetta, then is there no corruption?
That's what I'm saying. If the properties aren't found in their name, if the money is found in Arpita's house, then what is the ED doing? Why aren't they charging them? Still continuing.
But they have arrested, sir.
And what they were.
You do not think that there is any anger among the people of the state.
It suggests the failure on the part of the ED. That they are doing by these two persons. That's what he was trying to suggest.
Okay. Rishi Bagri, this is not about Partha. This is not about the government. This is about the ED's failure, irrespective of what this woman is saying.
Padmaja, you need to understand the West Bengal public is very anguished and disgusted to see the multiple mountains of cash amassed by these leaders who preach simplicity by wearing simple kurta pajama with Hawaii chappal. I mean, the spontaneous outbursts like throwing of the slippers by an ordinary West Bengal homemaker reflects the public mood against this rampant corruption. You need to understand that when a common citizen facing hardship in their day-to-day life and see some corrupt politician getting VIP treatment in front of them, bound to lose their cool. And a Partho may have been at the receiving end, but Mamta, who runs the state, is the real target. You need to understand that. And this woman who hurled a slipper at Partho Chatterjee is a symbol of Mamata Banerjee's venal establishment, and walk back barefoot is the symbol of Bengal's resistance against the TMC oppressive regime.
I think he's fictionally imagining everything. Mamata is indeed a target. I agree with you. Mamata has been the target of BJP for the last 5-6 years.
This is not a target of the BJP. This is the ordinary person.
That's a classic.
Which is throwing slipper
Don't disturb me, sir. Don't disturb me. You are a political analyst, sir. Why are you so agitated? You are a political analyst, not representing the party. There is a party person, right? So you have got the classic.
You are just wasting my statement,
what is this? I feel laughing at you. Why don't you allow me to speak? Right? I'm defending, according to you, I'm defending something that I should not defend.
Even now you have,
so why are you so agitated?
Now you have the audacity.
So you have that classic Freudian
issue.
slip that Mamata was actually the target. Yes, Mamata has been the target of ED, right? For the last 4-5 years. Not just Mamata, even a family. Even Abhishek's wife has been singularly targeted.
Are you saying this woman then is targeting Mamata Banerjee? She is not an ordinary citizen?
I'm talking about this woman. Why I'm talking about, I'm not even talking about this one, I'm talking about the
We're talking about this woman because Rishi Bagri is saying this woman symbolizes what the Janta of Bengal is thinking.
What the woman has done out of anger, I think, is not that important as the case is.
Right.
We need to crack the case. Where does the money come from? Whose money it is? What is the AD doing?
Okay,
Are they
Priyanka
being
Tibrewal.
bullied by these people?
This is immaterial. One
So this slipper-
random person.
So that's what I'm saying. This hurling of slipper on just, it's not just meant for Partho Chatterjee. It is for each and every TMC person who is trying to protect Partho Chatterjee, who's trying to defend the acts which are done by the TMC people when they are on chair. It is for them who have facilitated this kind of corruption. Yes, the people are angry. They are even more angry because the government is showing no remorse. The government is showing no empathy, no compassion for those 500, for those youth who have been sitting on the streets for more than 500 days. Not once did the government say that, it doesn't matter if Partho has done a scam, doesn't matter whatever has gone wrong, we will try to correct it. No, they didn't say. So yes, this anger is of the public here, and the public will be giving a befitting reply.
No,
it has
but
just started
equally
today.
the TMC will argue they gave her a thumping majority. You said in the election that they are angry, they gave her a thumping majority. And today also there are no large-scale protests.
There is protest each and every day on the street, Padmaja of Kolkata, each and every day in most of the districts. That's what I'm saying. Those people who are defending TMC on the television, if they have the audacity and guts, ask them to come down on the streets of West Bengal, and then you see how many such clippers will be heard on them.
I'm sitting in a public university, madam.
Professor Mandal and Vipan Banerjee are both laughing.
I am talking about.
I'm sitting at a public university. Yes, I'm also. My students are also agitating. My students are also protesting, but they are not making politics out of it like you. My students are also very much aware of what is happening. They are also protesting. They are not targeting us. That's the difference between Jadavpur culture and BJP culture. You may not like us. You want to demolish us by way of surgical strike. But our students are also protesting in a civic manner. Not the way you are doing. Like these three triumvirs, Suvendu Adhikari, Shomit Chokha and Nitish Pramanik outside the parliament. Oh my God, they are talking about corruption. These three big criminals, Shomit Chokha, Suvendu Adhikari and Nitish Pramanik, they came out after meeting the Home Minister. These three criminals, all of them had serious criminal charges against them. Suvendu Adhikari extorted money. Shomit Chokha also took money in promise of jobs. And Nitish Pramanik, what do I talk about him? He is charged of sexual harassment, dacoity.
Sir, you are, okay, again, you are going all over the place except answering a simple question. Now, Anirban Banerjee, the centre has stepped in. They have written a letter. Dharmendra Pradhan, Union Education Minister, has written a letter to your Chief Minister saying what you are doing and your inaction against the people involved is denting the morale of the youth. It is not about BJP. Let BJP be. It is the people of the state whose morale is being dented. Professor Mandal, let Anirban Banerjee also answer. Why are you taking away his right to speak? He's on your
Just 10
side.
seconds. Anirban will come because Anirban doesn't know.
Yeah,
that.
please let
Jadavpur
Dada complete.
Jadavpur University was promised 100 crores, Mr. Pradhan. You have given us only 40 crores. 400 of young scholars lost their job. This is under Russia. Mr. Pradhan, Dharmendra Pradhan, I am saying this as not as a political person, as a professor. Give us the money that you promised in 2019. 100 crores, you gave only 40 crores. 60 crores are due, Mr. Pradhan. I am addressing Mr. Pradhan. And if I am wrong, challenge me. File a case against me if I am wrong. I am a part of that committee, Russia. You are not releasing the money. Deliver to your sitting on the file.
The money, and you have kept in your security to many other ministers of yours government that enjoyed the central fund.
You
are for the people of Bengal, but you sat tight on it.
Okay, answer this, Priyanka Tibrewal. You are doing politics on the issue of SSC scam, but Jadavpur University is being denied. Then you don't say any problem when youth are being demoralized.
That is what I am saying. Have they replied that whatever funds came from central during the time of Ampan and Penny, they were asked to give a hisab of that. They said hisab nahi denge. Mamata Banerjee said मुझसे हिसाब मांगोगे हिसाब कैसे देंगे बिकॉज पैसा तो सब अप्पा के घर में है पैसा तो इनकी फ्रेंड्स के घर पे है गर्लफ्रेंड्स के घर में है एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द मिनिस्टर्स हैव मेनी सच अप्पास सो हाउ विल दे रिस्पॉन्ड हिसाब कैसे देंगे
Anirban Banerjee, is the government seriously misjudging the public mood? It took a week for Mamata Banerjee to finally act against Patra Chatterjee. First you kept saying, oh, this is a conspiracy, this is a witch hunt, there is no problem, kept protecting him, then shunted him out. Now you've got one more MLA who is being questioned. There are other people also who are being scanned. There are 5 names supposedly in the diary. Are you misjudging the public's mood and anger?
Patra Chatterjee has been sacked from the ministry. He has also been suspended from the party. While Mr. Shubhendu Adhikari, with whose statement you opened the program, he has been made the leader of opposition, the same very Shubhendu Adhikari, who was called a chore by the same very BJP. The investigation is still going on after 8 years. There's a difference, number one.
And what did you call
number
him then?
Two,
what did you call him then? He was there in the party, you did not suspend him then.
I know you are a professional
You did not suspend him then, so why are you questioning now?
Don't try those tricks on me.
That means that was intentional by you.
Let me complete.
Of not
I know
him.
truth-hurt.
And many
I
others.
know truth-hurt.
Many others.
I know
You did not
truth-hurt.
suspend. All of them are ministers.
Don't heckle.
Sonia Gandhi was a minister.
Don't heckle. I know truth-hurt.
So Patra Chatterjee was removed. Patra Chatterjee was removed after a week. What about Paresh Adhikari? His MOS education, his daughter was removed on the orders of the court because she had illegally been given a government job. He continues. What about him?
Right.
What about another MLA of yours who has been questioned on 2 occasions for over 18 hours? What about him? Because it's not about Patra Chatterjee alone. There are 9 places which were raided today, sir. 4 nail art parlors, multiple bungalows and flats, a farmhouse. Are you saying that this man was doing it by himself?
He had
People can see it.
Neutrally.
People are seeing it.
If he acted neutrally, 90% of the BJP cabinet would have been suspended. The BJP does not raid the BJP leaders under charges. Once anybody joins the BJP, they suddenly become scot-free. So what will the Trinamool do with that? Let the ED act neutrally, the half of the BJP ministers will be left in jail, the rest will be under probe.
Okay.
There's a difference.
So, so there will be no anger, Rishi Bagri, because the BJP is rotten, the TMC is rotten, people don't care.
No, each of those bundles of notes which were recovered from the house of the confidant of the Patra Chatterjee actually has a story to tell. I mean, they were procured from the jobless, desperate youths who have been, who actually empty their household savings and or borrowed money from their relatives and the friends, and they actually given those bundles to those people, and in the hope of that they will get some job that was never actually given to them. So you can understand the anger which is happening to them.
Were you involved in that racket, Rishi? What do you
mean I was involved in the racket? The racket was, sir, the racket is day. The people are on the street. The people who got conned are on the street. They are saying all these things on the video, on the television, sir.
Only a partner in the racket will ever know, ever come to know of such traffic details.
Okay, fine.
Mr. Bagri should be
You may
summoned by
think
the
that
ED.
Priyanka Tibrewal, Anirban Banerjee and Rishi Bagri are involved in the racket. Would you also say the same for a woman who walks up in hospital to Patra Chatterjee and flings a slipper and says, I'm doing it only because I am upset with the way that the future of youth in West Bengal is being ruined? Will you say the same for her as well? Well, it's entirely up to you. Thank you very much, all gentlemen, Priyanka Tibrewal, for joining me, taking a quick break.
The fact of the matter is, whether it is imported inflation, whether it is tinkering of GST for a longer period, the fact is that the burden is on the common man. And the common man, frankly, doesn't really care about what's happening in the United States or the UK or Russia or Ukraine. They're worried about their day-to-day living and per capita incomes where they are in India. The pressure is as much, magnified on common people in this country than they are abroad. And of course, you have social security systems which exist abroad, which don't exist in India. So I come back to asking you the same question. Is the government really being rather hard-hearted when it looks at these issues? After all, running a country of the kind that India is, with poor middle classes, lower middle classes forming the bulk of the population, do you think the government is doing enough to cushion the impact on these classes of people?
So let me say that as a policy maker, one has to make various trade-offs. So first of all, let me be clear that the government is fully cognizant of the spike in inflation. Otherwise, you wouldn't have seen the measures we have taken, including the Reserve Bank tightening monetary policy. So clearly, the tightening of monetary policy is one response to bringing down inflation. But do remember that this is a trade-off, because if you do tighten monetary policy too fast, too quickly, yes, it will bring down inflation, but then it will slow down growth, it will slow down incomes and so on and so forth. So there is a balancing act that has to be done. Ultimately, what do we want to do? We want to increase as far as possible the trajectory of welfare and real incomes. And in that context, we have to trade off between growth and inflation. So the trade-off that we are making right now is, rather than tighten so harsh that growth slows down, we are tightening somewhat, but not so much that growth slows down too much. So keeping GDP growth going, create jobs, which is an important question, which I hope we will come to later on. These are issues that are also foremost in our mind. So given this balance we have done, I think the Reserve Bank's response is the correct one for this point in time.
Well, Sanjeev Sanyal, governments are not necessarily only policy makers. They are also political entities, and you understand politics as much as anybody else. I want to ask you a simple, straightforward question that is... No. I cannot answer any questions on politics. I am a policy maker. So if there are political questions, I'm afraid I will simply not be in a position to answer them. Well, that disclaimer taken on board, but I'm still asking you the question that when policy makers within the government do not have enough measures that solve problems of the common people of India, they end up being called insensitive and arrogant because they're winning elections anyway. They don't really need to bother about the common man. That is the question that often comes up. How do you think the government can respond to that?
As I said right in the beginning, I'm not a politician, and winning or not winning elections is a concern of the political leadership. I can tell you the key here is that as a policy maker, I need to maintain macroeconomic stability in an environment where clearly there are serious threats to the rest of the world. You've already seen neighboring countries like Sri Lanka, going into vicious cycles on their macroeconomic management. We are seeing serious issues with inflation in Europe, in US. These are turbulent times. So for me, very important that in these turbulent times, I keep a steady ship. Yes.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching the News Pulse with me, Priya Bahel, and the latest story that we're getting you is that Nancy Pelosi's plane has entered Taiwan's air defense zone. Shortly, Nancy Pelosi is going to land in Taiwan. This, remember, has caused major ripples in the Indo-Pacific as the US House Speaker is visiting Taiwan. She is going to be the first United States official to visit the country in 25 years. And ahead of this visit, there have been several raised eyebrows in China, where the country came out to warn the United States that this visit shall be seen as a violation of One China policy. 4 US warships were seen patrolling near Taiwan, and now we are given to understand that Nancy Pelosi's plane has entered Taiwan's air defense zone. Joining us now is a journalist from Taiwan. Brian Hue is joining us on the broadcast. Thank you, sir, for joining us on Times Now. My first question to you is, what really is the mood on the ground in Taiwan right now over this impending visit of Nancy Pelosi?
So people are actually comparatively relaxed. I think this is because while much of the international world has reported on these threats directed at Taiwan from China, or the possibility of conflict between the US and China, Chinese threats towards Taiwan are actually nothing new. And so things are quite calm, things are very normal, life goes on. People are just going on with their everyday lives. So I think the Pelosi visit is welcomed as a show of support for Taiwan, but I also think that your average person on the street maybe just views it as a diplomatic visit, a sign of support, and doesn't view it as a kind of groundbreaking historical event. So maybe if they read a news article, they will know that this has occurred in 25 years, while people in policy circles are, of course, much more concerned with what is happening now.
So is there some sort of nervousness or apprehension amongst the Taiwanese about the muscle flexing that we have been seeing coming in from China so far?
So that's the other thing, that there is surprisingly not a lot of kind of focus on that among the general public. The news, for example, is still more focused on a plagiarism scandal by the one of the towering mayoral candidates, on dashcam footage, on the usual celebrity gossip and that sort of thing, rather than these stories about the Chinese military flexing. I think that's because, for example, even just last year when we saw a historic number of air incursions from Chinese fighter planes into Taiwan's air defense identification zone, that actually takes place at a distance from Taiwan, and it was so repetitive in some ways as a news item that people don't have a sense of developing threats that are increasing in danger, including with this Pelosi visit, and I think that's something that China has been unsuccessful with. There is Chinese drilling. There are Chinese naval vessels spotted off of Orchid Island, which is one of Taiwan's outlying islands, and China announced the import block of 100 food items from Taiwan. But these attempts to economically pressure Taiwan, they're noticed, but I don't think it causes panic in the streets either.
Also give us a perspective on whether Taiwanese perceptions about America and how it has been saying that it is going to pledge to protect its interests have changed over the course of last few years?
So I think that's the thing, actually. For example, if there had been a backing down of the Pelosi visit, then there would have been the perception that America would back down in the face of Chinese threats. After the visit was announced and then Biden said it was a bad idea publicly, that they differentiated from each other in their public statements, Pelosi and Biden, despite being of the same party, that already is kind of an issue. And I think Biden perhaps should not have said that out loud. But then if Pelosi had not come, if, for example, if she had actually not come as a result of China's threatening all these things and its military flexing, that'd be seen as American weakness. The Republican hawks in the U.S. have used this to seize on this as a way to kind of push for the Pelosi visit. And I think Pelosi is driven by trying to carry out this visit because of wanting to be tough on China with elections coming up later this year in the U.S. But in that sense, I think that it's one of those things that if it actually didn't occur, probably at this point in Taiwan, there'd be those that use this to claim while the U.S. is not so reliable.
Okay, breaking news coming in that China has fired yet another salvo. Its mouthpiece Global Times has put out and said the US C-40C aircraft, which is said to be Pelosi's flight to Taiwan with no official confirmation, did not head straight to Taiwan from South China Sea, but circled around and is approaching Taiwan from Philippines Sea. Observers said it is likely an attempt to avoid possible PLA interception. Now, this muscle flexing already on China had started it a while ago. It had also issued a warning to the US saying that this visit will not be taken lightly. Global Times there trying to imply that US might have been scared by this move, by their threats, the warnings that have been put out, and therefore that tweet has been posted by Global Times, which says that Pelosi's flight to Taiwan did not head straight into the country via South China Sea. Instead, circled around and is approaching from Philippine Sea, thereby suggesting that there might have been a rethink on their part as well as playing cautious. Srinjoy, how do you interpret these developments?
Well, it's very important to know that at this point, there are two countries, the two most powerful economies, a superpower militarily and another very, very powerful country. They are at loggerheads. Now, where this will go, we do not know, but surely the war of words has escalated and it has led to a show of force. When a super carrier of the United States is very close to Taiwan, where the Nancy Pelosi is, and the Chinese are threatening to do anything they want to and ensure that America, quote unquote, faces imminent action, a lot of things could happen. But the point is it going to lead to hostilities? That is the question that has to be answered. But looking at the situation as the way that is, it could well be a case of shadow boxing, because the idea of America and China going to war, or China attacking Taiwan just because Nancy Pelosi has reached Taipei at this point seems a little distant. Yes, there could be serious tension, but whether it's going to be out and out war remains to be seen.
Right, out and out war seems to be a far-fetched possibility for now, Srinjoy, but when it comes to war of words, nobody is letting up anyway. Even the US had warned China not to overreact, and as far as we know, there are 4 warships deployed by them off the island, and while they are trying to dismiss it as routine deployment, there is nothing routine about it.
See, these warships are all there. And this is part of the US when a super carrier is there, it is always with other warships. And if that is so, it is a carrier group, a very powerful group. Alongside the carrier and its fighter planes, you will have other ships, you will have submarines, you will have nuclear weapons, you have everything there, a whole army or a whole navy there. So the Americans are not slowing down when it comes to display of force.
Right.
It's
so
all there.
Please stay on the line with us. We are now joined by RSN Singh. I would also like to bring him in for his viewpoint on this. Mr. Singh, how do you see these developments? Taiwan catching the attention of the whole world right now.
Well, I mean, the speaker of the Congress there going to with the congressional delegation to Taiwan is very, very significant, especially in the backdrop of the fact that the Chinese have been issuing, open threats of to the extent of saying that they will shoot down the aircraft. I mean, some of their officials have said this, and also they have also carried out live military exercises, adopting a very threatening posture. So therefore, I mean, this is a gauntlet thrown by the Americans, and it is
Well, it has got to do much with the geopolitics of the region, especially in the wake of assassination of Shinzo Abe, and also after the aggressive. Remember that Shinzo Abe was one of the architects of Quads, and the entire truth about his assassination has not come out. And then link it up with the South China Sea. So I personally have always maintained the fact that if the Americans even cow down in this region, that is the Indo-Pacific region, the US will cease to be a superpower. I have told the Americans also in no uncertain terms. Not now. I have been telling them since a few years now, and well, this is open, but we also should learn some lessons. You have given all your cards, as far as China is concerned. You gave up your Taiwan card, you gave up your Tibet card. Look at the Americans. They have made concessions. They have endorsed, one China, two principles, but they haven't given away all their cards. And that is why, we on the diplomatic table, we suffer because of this, this kind of an attitude. First it was, Tibet is an autonomous region of China, then is that Tibet is autonomous, Tibet autonomous region. So we have been flip-flopping, while they have been steadfast as far as their diplomacy and foreign policy is concerned. So there are no free lunches in diplomacy, and every action has a meaning. Every action has a meaning, and this is a huge strategic.
Every action has a meaning, and definitely United States would have clearly thought through the consequences when it was sending Nancy Pelosi, the third highest ranking official in the country, for a visit to this very, very sensitive region. Lieutenant General Raj Kadian also joins us on the broadcast. Sir, what do you make of this, as Mr. Arison Singh put it, gauntlet thrown by the US to China? Mr. Kadian? Lieutenant General Kadian?
Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, देखिए ये तो America had not confirmed that she would be visiting Taiwan. Although this is not unprecedented, 97 also the speaker had gone. American foreign minister recently made a statement that it is the Chinese who are escalating the situation and not the Americans. Their members of Congress have been visiting regularly. So the threat from the Chinese, there could be three factors why they were behaving the way they did. One was that China is not what it was in 97 when the last speaker went. Today they are much stronger. And they perhaps wanted to test the American resolve not to have a military confrontation. I don't think they have the capability. Second, Xi Jinping is a very strong leader. And he had declared that he will take Taiwan even if it is by force. He had not specified it.
Right.
Xi Jinping is seeking a third term of presidency. So with all these factors, they were just making noise and showing opposition. I don't think they have the gumption to take on the Americans militarily. So they will perhaps fly their fighters around our aircraft. They will escort her to Taiwan airbase. Show of force, that is all. But there will be no military confrontation between America and China.
Is it all sound and fury, or does it really signify something? We are also joined by Brian Hui, who joins us from Taiwan. We now know, Brian, that Nancy Pelosi's flight is being escorted by Taiwanese military planes. What more can you tell us?
So I think there is some fear of what would happen. For example, the plane took the long way around to avoid the South China Sea, which is why it actually took so long. It was not a direct flight. And it attracted a lot of attention. I mean, that's why you have record-breaking numbers, over 180,000 people watching the plane on flight trackers. And so even the Chinese military then set up anti-aircraft artillery at the airport, Songshan Airport in Taipei, with landing to avoid missiles or drones or other means of targeting the plane. And so it's a good thing to be careful. I mean, even in Taipei now, there are, for example, counter-protesters against Pelosi who involve organized crime elements, pro-China organized crime elements. So I think Taiwan and the U.S. are taking a receptive voice in the situation, but it's also a question to what extent China will escalate, because as I mentioned, it's not actually a good position really to act on the threats.
Right, Brian. There is also information that several websites in your country have gone offline.
Sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't hear that very clearly.
Right, we'll try and fix that audio connection because there seems to be some glitch in the line. It's not really audible. Brian, you're joining us from Taiwan. Srinjoy, if I could come to you on that point, Lieutenant General Kadian said that all these threats that are being issued are nothing more than muscle flexing. It's just about asserting themselves. In fact, the same question, if I could take over to Mr. Arasin Singh. Do you think there is actually some substance to these threats being issued by both sides?
General Kadia is absolutely right when he says that they cannot afford to, escalation, because you see that area. You have Americans sitting in Japan, you have Americans sitting in South Korea, you have, Americans deployed, you have Americans in Australia, you have American indirect presence in Philippines, and then they have a base in Guam. And then, of course, there are two aircraft carrier groups which are, hovering in and around Taiwan. And if you add up these forces, and, given the fact that the eastern coast of China is where, most of the, actually their economic story started from there. So it's a very tough call, actually. It's a very tough call. So it's not so easy that, for China to, browbeat all these, powers put together. And the Americans have deployed at least 60% of their war-waging assets in that region.
But so what do you make of the timing of this visit? It is not officially backed by the White House, yet Nancy Pelosi is going there. We know that tempers have been high when it comes to this region. Why now?
I really can't answer this question, I'll have to delve a little deeper to find an answer to this about the timing. But somehow, this, it is, I would like to guess that, it is also linked to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, because that has the potential to change the world order, actually. Okay. And the world order is already, under it's already undergoing change. That may be one of the reasons. That is what I guess, actually.
Right. Mr. Singh, stay on the line with us. We are also now joined by Maruf Raza. Maruf, Mr. Arasin Singh is pointing out how changing global strategic architecture might be responsible for the timing of Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan right now, despite threats coming forth from China. What are your views?
China has always laid claims on Taiwan ever since it became a breakaway republic. And as far as America is concerned, it has always found Taiwan as one issue where America could needle China. More recently, Mr. Biden has gone on record to say that America could intervene with military force if China was to attack Taiwan. This wasn't the case in the past, where America kind of fudged around with what its response will be. Recently, the phone conversation between President Biden and Mr. Xi Jinping has led Xi Jinping to set out a very clear warning to America that don't interfere in Taiwan, because it's what we regard as our internal territorial issue. But Xi Jinping is at this time preparing for the Congress, which will take place of the Communist Party later this year, which, if he shows a muscular China, he could get an unprecedented third term as the leader of China with the sweeping powers that he enjoys. Nancy Pelosi, who's the Speaker of the House in the US and a very powerful politician, has chosen to visit Taiwan. Please remember, some time ago, she had engaged with the Tibetan leadership of His Holiness the Dalai Lama also, and she is a champion of America's idea of free speech and freedom of peoples. So this is part of her brief, and the American administration is going to wait and watch China does. But I don't think China at this point of time is going to do a kind of military gamble like Mr. Putin did in Ukraine, because what has Ukraine shown that any military activity undertaken by even great military powers cannot ensure full victory if the response from the other side could be quite fierce, and this one would have very clear American and possibly other neighborhood countries that would respond against China's expansionism, which will then put China in a spot, because Xi Jinping's military adventure there has to go through with proper precision and has to happen very quickly. If it doesn't, it will be something that will be a big slap on his face. So I don't think, other than muscular activity around Taiwan's coast, the Chinese are going to venture into a full-fledged military campaign. Taiwan is a rich country. Taiwan has massive financial investments in China, just as Japan has. And Taiwan is not a military pushover. It has been, over the years, provided with state-of-the-art military equipment by the Americans. So the Chinese are not going to have a free run over Taiwan. Some have argued that what China is actually targeting, the one company in Taiwan which controls more than 80% of the world's semiconductors, and that is TSMC. So they say to settle China's ambitions, if you give China TSMC's control, China may abandon its ambitions on Taiwan, which I don't think is entirely possible, because China's leadership is structured around making territorial gains and settling what China recalls and regards as the unsettled business of the creation of the modern state of China, which is whether it is Taiwan there or it is Tibet and its extension into Ladakh in India and some of India's neighboring states. So all those issues are something that China would have to deal with, but I don't think China is going to open up on all fronts. It is a strategic mistake which only Hitler made, and he paid heavily for that.
Right. Chinese warplanes are involved, US warships are involved. It is definitely a high-risk visit, Maruf Raza, but do you think the rewards are also going to be equally important, or is it just about creating some flutter and muscle flexing?
The US really is not going to gain dramatically by Ms. Pelosi's visit. The US is only into strong messaging at this stage, and I don't think the US can engage itself getting embroiled in a full-fledged conflict. And China and US both have reasonable intelligence assessment on each other's intentions and capabilities. So a lot of it is for showcasing in the public domain. The issue is who's going to blink first. My guess is China will blink first. I don't think China will go in for a conflict now, though many analysts of the West have argued it's not a question of if China will attack Taiwan, it is a question of when. I don't think China has arrived now.
Right. In fact, stay on with us, Maruf Raza, because amidst news coming in that there might be a detour to Nancy Pelosi's aircraft, I'm joined by Madhav, who will tell us exactly what route is Pelosi going to take when she reaches Taiwan.
Absolutely right, Priya. It does appear that detour has happened because it's overflying Philippines and across Philippines. This is SPA 19, one of the most tracked aircraft on the global tracking websites. And I can tell you, some of the tracking websites have actually crashed. There's such a huge overload on their servers at the moment because of vast volume of traffic and interest in what's happening as far as the aircraft itself is concerned. SPA 19 is the name of the aircraft. You can see it's almost entered physically over Taiwan. It would be very much within Taiwan airspace. And you can see see the tip over here is Taipei, where in fact she is expected to land. So in just a few minutes from now, perhaps, will be the time when the aircraft carrying the US Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, who's known for her work in several important and key landmark legislations there in the United States, is going to be landing there. It's after a gap of over 2.5 decades that we are seeing such a spectacle, the last being in 1997 when Newt Gingrich was the last speaker to actually land in Taiwan. So while a lot of statements have come in from China, from Russia over this particular visit, a huge military buildup as well, in just a few minutes from now we could be looking at this aircraft landing, touching down there in Taiwan's Taipei.
Right, the last update that we got was from RT, which has tweeted that Pelosi's plane has entered Taiwan's air defense zone, and meanwhile multiple Taiwan government websites have also gone offline. We were speaking to Maruf Raza earlier, as well as Lieutenant General Raj Kadyan. Maruf, Raj Kadyan was making a point that this could possibly, the timing of this visit could possibly be linked to Ukraine-Russia war. What do you think of that?
No, that has been argued from the very beginning, that if countries agreed with Russia's position over Ukraine, then it would be difficult for those countries to dispute China's position over Ukraine or Ladakh. And India was being dragged into that controversy, but India stayed away because India's argument was that you cannot compare China's territorial dispute with India with Russia's aggression of Ukraine. However, there is another activity that's just happening there, as Madhav just brought out, that the Chinese presidential servers have apparently collapsed.
Okay, sir, I'm extremely sorry I'm putting you on hold because I'm now joined by a military expert from Taipei. Ms. Ting Ting joins us. Ma'am, we are hearing of a lot of developments happening in air as well as on land, as well as when it comes to war of words. What is the latest that you can tell us? How do you see Nancy Pelosi's visit?
What we know is that no doubt her visit to Taiwan is confirmed, and she is going to be scheduled landing in just less than 20 minutes right now. And we are actually seeing increased, military activities in the region. So based just on the Taiwanese side, and my sources has been telling me that multiple fighter jets from various air bases in Taiwan has scrambled, just as Pelosi's flight is going to enter Taiwan's PIZ. And now, actually, we are also saying that the military has been on high alert. Actually, the Taiwanese military has been on high alert since the 2nd of August. And it will be all the way until the noon of 4th August. So no doubt, there's a lot of tension happening in the region at this point in time.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Tintin, for joining us. We hope that this visit passes off peacefully and it's just about show of strength and doesn't really materialize into any war conflict. Thank you for joining us on the broadcast. That's all that we had for our viewers on this broadcast. Up next is Rahul Shivshankar with Upfront.
Thanks indeed, Priya. Yes, viewers, we are focusing on the biggest story of the day today, once again on India Upfront, as we always do. Viewers, the ED has been on a raid spree today. A few days after interrogating Rahul and Sonia Gandhi, the ED raided 12 locations, including the Herald house in the capital, to presumably collect evidence in connection with the National Herald scam. Many in the opposition say that this is just a fishing expedition. It is high on optics, but low on efficacy. Because surely by now, anything that would have to be incriminating would have been evacuated from these locations. Over in Kolkata, the raids continued on Arpita, a close aide of tainted TMC leader Patra Chatterjee. 2 of her flats were once again raided today, viewers. And we are told that at least 3 black diaries have been recovered. One of them is a pocket diary. ED sources have told Times Now that in these diaries are once again particulars of payments. How true this is, of course, remains to be seen, because sooner than later the ED will have to make a declaration of seized articles to the court, and it will have to illustrate with submitting the evidence to the court what this evidence is all about. In the West, in Mumbai, raids continued in connection with those linked to the rupees 1,000 crore Patra Chawl scam. Predictably, the opposition has attacked the government for setting the ED Rottweiler, as they refer to it, free to intimidate anyone opposed to the NDA. Those pictures, viewers, tell you the story of the day's developments. Different parts of the country witnessing ED officers entering and searching, and in some cases seizing. The BJP has responded to the opposition's charge. It has expressed reservations, saying that due process is being followed and that there is no truth in the claim that the ED is acting at the behest of the government. In fact, viewers, in connection with the scandal in Bengal, the BJP says that the ED is only following court orders. It is because the court is seized of the matter. The court wanted a further investigation and called upon the ED to probe that the agency is doing what it has done. Over in Maharashtra, once again, viewers, the BJP has come out and clearly said that this matter is not a new one. The courts are seized of it. Those that have been dispossessed by the likes of the Shiv Sena leaders, Sanjay Raut, etc., allegedly, viewers, have come out and called upon the investigative agencies and the government of the day to conduct probes. And of course, when it comes to the Herald House, the BJP is very clear that the Gandhis have got no relief from the courts itself. And therefore, the ED is doing what it has always aimed to do, which is to take the investigation to its logical conclusion. The BJP has also posed a basic question. How is scam Shahi, Lok Shahi? These are some basic questions. But the most pointed questions today are being asked by those most affected by the scam. You and me, viewers. Us. Yes. We spoke to those who were directly affected because of what is known now as the Patra Chawl scam. Remember, the Patra Chawl was up for redevelopment. The chawl was to be reconstructed. For whom? For those from lower strata of society that needed to live in more salubrious environments. None of those people today are living where they ought to have been living. Why? Because according to the Enforcement Directorate, the developers misappropriated the land. Builders there are making beautiful structures to sell to private prospectors, not for the purpose of rehabilitating the poor. Those people are angry and they're seeking action. I want you to listen, viewers, to some